Chapter 629. Minister Nan did not speak and was silent for a long time. Yi Chongqing continued, after Gao Zhiyun was set up last time, his mentality changed greatly. He probably went through a life and death experience and understood a lot. At that time, the Starry Mountains incident had not happened yet. I think we should give him a chance. Minister Nan was still silent for a moment before he said in a deep voice, Yi Chongqing, you have to know that you have to bear the responsibility for protecting Gao Zhiyun. He has you as his guarantor now, but there may not be anyone to bear the responsibility for you later. Yi Chongqing said in a deep voice, Commander Nan is wise. If we can keep a talent, Yi Chongqing is duty-bound. Chongqing has been in the army for many years. I am confident in my judgment. Even if I can't compare with Commander Nan, I will still have some. He did not call him Minister Nan, but called him Commander Nan in the army. A subordinate making such a promise to a superior was no different from a military order in the army. Moreover, Yi Chongqing's rank in the army was much lower than Minister Nan's. Nan Zhengqian was silent for a moment before he said, Well, since you have said so, there is no harm in granting your request. But Gao Zhiyun can't stay in Hidden Dragon Academy to teach anymore. I have no right to ask about the position. I will listen to the arrangements of the superior. Minister Nan thought for a moment and suddenly said, Then let Gao Zhiyun transfer to Shui City First High School to be the vice principal. His whole family will go there, and cannot return to the capital for 100 years. Yi Chongqing showed a grateful expression. Thank you, Commander Nan. He understood that Minister Nan was still worried about Gao Zhiyun, and deliberately put him under Gu Qianfan to watch over him for 2 years. In this way, he was indirectly relieved of his responsibility. How is Wuxiao Duo? Minister Nan asked. Nothing much. It's just that the child is itching for a beating. His teacher is helping to relieve the itch. Yi Chongqing replied in 2 words, he is being beaten. Minister Nan was stunned for a moment before he laughed heartily and hung up the phone. Well, this was the only good news he had heard recently. He could only be happy for once. The various departments in Shangjing began to operate at an unprecedented high speed. The law enforcement agencies were operating at full capacity, but it was still not enough. This time they had caught too many people. The Discipline Inspection Department and other departments joined in one after another, and all the members of the military department supervised them. Later on, even the martial arts department joined in, and only then did they ensure that all the cases were heard at the same time. For a time, Southern Chiefside was under great pressure. These clans were all famous and influential, and each of them had a military background. Countless generals at the front line called to ask about it. Everyone knew one thing. Since Southern Chief Nan had made a move, it was impossible for the case to be unjust or false. It had to be a real crime. Now, it was just a matter of whether the confession would be made sooner or later, as well as the severity of the crime. No one dared to think that they could be absolved of their crimes. They all laughed and said, Hello, Marshal Nan. Do you still remember me? I am Little Monkey. He, the skinniest one in the Western Army. Nothing much, nothing much. I just wanted to say hello. Yes, don't worry, Marshal Nan. Thank you, Marshal Nan. Yes, all the brothers are well. Cough, cough. Actually, recently, when people get old, they think a lot and have a lot of memories. I remember the days when I drank with old Gao. Sai, he has been dead for many years. His bones are rotting. I always want to go back to Shangjing to take a look. Sai, I am Little Monkey. I am Little Chick from the Eastern Army. Back then, you told me that I would gain weight. It is a pity that I am still so skinny. I must live up to the name Little Chick that Marshal Nan gave me. Nothing much. I just missed Marshal Nan and called to ask about you. Didn't I just fight another battle recently? I used the same saber that Wei Zhongyun gave me. Now that I have made a contribution, it is inevitable that I will think of him. Alright, Marshal Nan, you are busy. Hello, Marshal Nan, I am Little Dizzy Egg, the one in the Northern Army. Little Dizzy Egg, I lost myself in the military assessment. Marshal Nan, you and the other marshals named me Little Dizzy Egg together. Yes, it's nothing. I always thought that it was not easy for everyone to live. Since Marshal Nan has taken care of me so much, I especially wanted to say hello. It's cold, Marshal Nan, do you still remember old Wu? Wubuatao Marshal Nan. He died in a battle on such a cold day. Sigh, Marshal Nan, you don't know how cold it is in the northern borderline. My nose is still dripping. No matter how high my cultivation is, I can't withstand the cold wind. Hello, Marshal Nan, I am covered in hair. Our brothers miss you very much. When are you coming back? When you are not here, we are not in the mood to fight and drink. It's nothing, it's nothing. We just haven't greeted you for a long time. We miss you so much. Yes, our old brothers are all here. Just now, Big Butt was still talking about the battle of the volcano. Haha, I still remember that LV Chongfeng was a deputy general that you personally appointed at that time. In the blink of an eye, he has died so many years ago. It's nothing, we just miss you. Hey, you are busy. If Nan Zhongqian was not in charge of such a phone call, if it were someone else, they would not have been able to handle it. Only Nan Zhongqian, the great Buddha, could sit there and calm down. No one dared to be presumptuous. Marshal Nan had been answering such phone calls for a few days. It could be said that since the people were captured, there was nothing for him to do with the interrogation. He only needed to wait for the follow-up report. However, his main job became to answer the phone calls during this period of waiting. He had a headache from answering the phone calls, but his blood was boiling. However, he had to answer the phone calls. Not a single one of them. With his official position and status, he could totally refuse to answer all these calls. He could just issue a cold order. Whoever dared to disturb him through the phone would be dealt with according to military law. Then everything would be over. However, as a soldier, Nan Zhongqian deeply understood the feelings between comrades, especially the old brothers who were still alive. Something had happened to the family of their old comrade who had been sacrificed for many years. Even if these guys racked their brains, they would still want to ask about the situation. Now, all the calls were just to laugh it off. No one pleaded for leniency. The military was the place with the strictest laws. Who among the soldiers who had been through hundreds of battles did not know the seriousness of the military law? Since Minister Nan had personally arrested them, how could they run away? However, if they did not ask, how could they face their old comrade? Therefore, each and every one of them smiled and begged their respective commanders to get Marshal Nan's number. Then one by one, they shamelessly called over. No one begged them. Even more so, no one asked them to do so. All of them did it on their own accord. They also knew that the descendants of their old comrade must have crossed the line. That was why Marshal Nan had personally taken action. However, at this moment they abandoned their own principles and ran over one by one. Each of them did not even frown when they were stabbed hundreds of times by a steel knife. Now, they were all high-ranking generals who could command the world. Some of them bowed humbly, some of them flattered and said soft words. Every one of them was already so old, but they still brought up the pet names that would make them furious if they heard someone talk about them casually. They came to talk to Nan Shui, trying to worm their way into being friends with him, and indirectly revealing their past friendship. They knew that Marshal Nan had committed an unforgivable crime. Therefore, they did not say anything to plead for leniency. However, Nan Zhongqian understood that every word that came out of their mouths was a plea from the bottom of their hearts. They hoped that he would be able to feel compassion for them. It was not for this group of bastards who had forgotten their ancestors and violated the law. It was for his comrade who had been through life and death with him on the battlefield. He was no longer here. He had the obligation to help him take care of his family and continue the bloodline. Nan Zhongqian understood this feeling. He understood it better than anyone else. Therefore, he kept his phone open and answered the phone continuously. He was not annoyed at all. He wanted this group of brothers to do their best for their brothers. Even when he looked at the names of these people who called, his heart was only filled with boiling warmth and comfort. Therefore, he continued to answer these pleading phone calls. He answered them in high spirits and his eyes were moist. Don't worry. I know what you want to say. Don't you trust me, Nan Zhongqian? Don't play tricks with me. Go do your thing. I know what you want to say better than you do. Get out of here. Go fight your war. Am I not better than you to worry about these things? I can't spare those who break the law. Can't I spare even the roots? Do you look down on me so much? Do you think I am purely cold-blooded? Just talk to me. Why are you stuttering? Even if you stutter for another year, You won't be able to ask me to be merciful. But I really won't be merciful? Okay. Stop talking. Am I not a soldier? Am I not a former comrade? I don't understand. Go do your thing. Next time, drink. The group of old generals was moved to tears. Thank you, Marshal Nan. All hail Marshal Nan. Marshal Nan, thank you on behalf of our old brothers. Thank you. The old generals were all satisfied. The more rude and impolite Marshal Nan was, the more he did not treat himself as an outsider. If he used a bureaucratic tone, this matter could not be handled. Nan Zhengqian compiled a list of all the old generals who called. The number of people exceeded the 400 mark. Only 2 days had passed. In the next few days he did not know how many more people would call. Therefore, Marshal Nan simply waved his hand and pulled all these people into a group. This group forbids idle chatter. When the families you care about have specific results, report it in the group immediately. Stop jumping up and down. You are not the kind of people who flatter others. I am sick of all your flattery. Go do what you are supposed to do. Let me say this first. Even if you are the descendants of the meritorious officials, you must pay the price for making a big mistake. As for the other accomplices this time, they will be severely punished and will not be tolerated. However, if the seedlings in the family have not been seriously eroded, then their crimes do not warrant death. They will definitely not leave no one alive from the meritorious family, regardless of age or gender, and kill them all. Therefore, in the future, there will be descendants of these families who will go to the border to redeem themselves. Their ancestral homes will be preserved. When they have accumulated enough merit, they will move back. However, if they do not have enough merit at that time, then it will be because you did not teach them well and did not do your best. It will not be my fault. Do you understand? If they die in battle, it will not be anyone's fault. Do you understand? Only then did the hundreds of old generals feel reassured. Below there was a formation. Thank you, Marshal Nan. Finally, they could account to their old brothers. Nan Zhengqian let out a sigh of relief after dealing with this matter. Those old generals were not the only ones who cared about their past relationship. How could he not care about his past relationship with his old comrades? Just as he had said, they were all descendants of meritorious officials. Even though they had been sitting in their positions without doing any work, if they were to really kill them all, how could they face the merits of their old brothers who were still standing in the ancestral hall? In the dream, if they stared at you and asked, for example, if Wei Zhongyuan came to you in your dream and asked, the family is guilty but such a big family, is there no one innocent? Those 3-year-old and 5-year-old children are all guilty of heinous crimes. Do they have to be beheaded, Nan Zhengqian? They were indeed dead and would not ask again. However, those who were alive would not forget them. They would dream of them. That was the heart. Today's third update. Although this chapter does not have much actual content, I feel weird writing it. I don't want to continue writing. Take a break. Mother hee. Body light and soft thoughts cat. He. Obedient Xiaoduo. Dad, Mom, did you miss me? 2 kissing emojis. Body light and soft thoughts cat. He. Mother. School is over? You're home? Obedient Xiaoduo. Mother, you're wise and far-sighted. School just ended. Back to the villa. Li Chenglong, that bastard, is still practicing martial arts downstairs. I finished my lessons early in school. Mother. Is Starlight Mountain Range School fun? It's a good place to play hide-and-seek. Obedient Xiaoduo. 2 confused emojis. Mother dog, you've grown up. You're a man. Not bad, not bad. You're so good at telling lies. You can brag without blushing at all. Not bad, not bad. Your dad's genes are really strong. I'm a hero, I'm a bastard. I'm a bastard. Blood dripping from a broadsword emoji. Obedient Xiaoduo. Black lines on the forehead. Imperial father. Black lines appear on his forehead. Body light and soft thoughts cat. Dog. 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 Cute and fierce voice emojis. Obedient Xiaoduo, I was wrong. I was very wrong. I shouldn't have. It's all my fault. Mother. What did you do wrong? What didn't you do wrong? Obedient Xiaoduo. I shouldn't have lied. Sob. But soft thoughts cat taught me this. Body light and soft thoughts cat. Dog. Gnashing teeth emoji. Mother, he. This ability to shift the blame is really inherited. The bastard father gave birth to a bastard son. Obedient Xiao Duo. The young and beautiful mother is mighty. His mother, who was peerless in her generation, was mighty. The mother of the national beauty was mighty. The mighty mother of the spellbinding birds and geese. His mother, who had turned into a fairy, was mighty. Mother Empress. Little bastard, are you planning to anger me to death before you're happy? Why are you flattering me? Forceful angry emoji with a smile. Body light and soft thoughts cat. The young and beautiful mother is mighty. His mother, who was peerless in her generation, was mighty. The mother of the national beauty was mighty. The mighty mother of the spellbinding birds and geese. His mother, who had turned into a fairy, was mighty. Mother. Humph. Father. You child, why didn't you say something so important? You're making your mother anxious. Making use of every opportunity to show his presence. Mother. Get out of my way. Do you think you're done? We still have a lot to settle, you bastard. Father. Mother. I haven't asked you yet. How's your harvest this time? Obedient Xiao Duo. I've gained a lot this time. The outside world is rich and colorful. Every time I look up, I see reinforcements. When I look down, I see treasures. When I straighten up, I see two demon kings fighting. Both of them are defeated. I've gained a lot. I'm rich. I'm really rich this time. Please don't call me a two-sleeved golden wind. I'm a two-sleeved golden mountain. Mother. Speechless emoji. Your mother is inexperienced. I've never been to the outside world. Is the outside world really so wonderful? A two-sleeved golden mountain. Is it really a two-sleeved golden mountain? Obedient Xiao Duo really. More real than real gold. I'll go home in a few days. I'll bring a lot of good things back for my parents. Then you'll know what a two-sleeved golden mountain is. Body light and soft thoughts cat. When are you going back? Let's go together. I have a lot of good things too. Obedient Xiao Duo well soft thoughts cat. Now that my cultivation has improved greatly, I can't be compared to the past. A mere Huayun is no longer in my eyes. It's time to let you know how powerful I am. Body light and soft thoughts cat. The most beautiful girl in the world accepts your challenge, little ant-like puppy. Remember to wag your tail and bark like a dog when you lose. Don't go back on your word. Obedient little duo. It's a deal. If you lose, you have to wear a cat-eared maid costume, pretend to be a cattail, and dance your tail for me to see. Body light and soft thoughts cat. You're courting death. Furious voice mother. Both of you get lost. Go do whatever you need to do. Let me know when you're coming back. Mother will make chive pancakes for you. Obedient little duo. Mommy is so nice. Body light and soft thoughts cat. Mother is so nice. Imperial father. What about me? No one spoke for a long time. Taking a closer look, everyone's avatars were dark and offline. Ha. Seeing that Shuchonglu was speechless and was still staring at the screen waiting for a reply, Wu Yuding suddenly burst into laughter. She was exceptionally happy. Shuchonglu gritted his teeth. Good. Last lad, you're so nice. When you come back, we'll settle our old and new debts together. Xiao Duo put down his phone and rolled on the bed a dozen times. Then he burrowed into the quilt and chuckled like a fool. Suddenly he sat up and pointed to the front. Nian Mao. Jump for me. Twist him up. You didn't expect me to be telling the truth, did you? Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators are no longer in this uncle's eyes. Wahahaha. He laughed foolishly for a long time before he stood up and stuck his head out of the window. Swollen. Come on up. Xiao Duo was ready to deal with the spoils of war. The two sleeves of gold were not just empty words. In the Starlight Mountain Range, in addition to the numerous spatial rings, he had also obtained a few top-grade heavenly treasures and many spiritual plants and spiritual herbs. With so many resources, Xiao Duo was overjoyed. However, he was not interested in organizing them. I'm busy. I don't have time. I'm only responsible for the collection and the process. As for classifying them into different categories and neatly, it was enough that they were swollen. It was better to share this joy with others than to share it alone. He had to share this joy with his friends. Hearing Xiaoduo's loud shouts, Grandma Sher, who was in the small courtyard, revealed a relieved smile. After such a long time, she was actually a little unused to not hearing this kid's shouts. Li Chenglong wiped his sweat and went upstairs. His whole body was steaming. What's up? Swollen was working very hard now. He was racing against time in his cultivation. His level of effort was more than 10 times more than before. Even at lunchtime, he would do martial arts squats while eating. After swallowing a few mouthfuls of food, he would immediately go back to cultivate. In a day, he would spend more than 10 hours in the gravitational machine. With such hard work, the results could be seen with the naked eye. His progress was very fast. Although I've positioned myself as a military advisor, I can't be a weak point. Otherwise, Zhuo won't be able to carry me. If I fall behind, I won't be able to catch up. Chapter 631. Something's up. Duo waved his hand mysteriously, winking at him. What's up? Li Chenglong put on a cautious expression, looking cautious and suspicious. Is this guy trying to trick me again? Every time Boss showed this kind of expression, I either got screwed over, or my debt multiplied again for no reason. Damn! What's with that expression? Do you think I'm tricking you? Duo was very dissatisfied. Haha. Li Chenglong rolled his eyes at the sky and chuckled. His pronunciation was perfect. You're making my balls hurt. Duo rolled his eyes, put the Tower of Destruction on the table, whistled and pointed, go in. Li Chenglong was not to be outdone, and whistled together. Duo rolled his eyes. Okay, 2 dogs. There were so many things, and they couldn't fit in a bedroom that was more than 20 meters long. Tisk, why are you being so mysterious? Li Chenglong knew about the existence of the Tower of Destruction. When Xingtian borrowed it and returned it to Duo, Li Chenglong was there. And when Xingtian did not hide it. Regarding this, Duo only reminded him not to leak it out, and that was it. After all, Yi Chongqing had the Tower of Destruction, and it was not a secret at all. But now that the tower was in Duo's hands, there were not many people who knew about it. Duo had always been very careful when it came to keeping secrets, but Li Chenglong had always been steady, and it was not a big deal for him to keep it a secret. However, only Duo knew about the change in the flow of time and the transformation of the nature of the tower. This time, asking Li Chenglong to go in was the result of Duo's careful consideration. Even if we go in, I'll have to carry you. Amidst Li Chenglong's blood-curdling screams, Duo grabbed the back of Li Chenglong's swollen neck and dragged Li Chenglong into the tower. He had to take advantage of this. Fuck, don't lift me up. Li Chenglong's feet were lifted off the ground as he was dragged in. As soon as he entered, a scorching heat wave hit him in the face. He almost suffocated on the spot. So hot. Why is it so hot in here? Huff, huff, huff. Ow. Then he screamed, fire, fire. Inside, the heart of the ardent sun had not absorbed any heat for the past few days. Of course, the heat inside was extraordinary. As soon as Li Chenglong entered, he almost immediately entered the red-hot furnace. This was also because Swollen's cultivation had improved considerably. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to bear this heat. He wouldn't be able to withstand it. Regarding this, Duo was actually holding back. He roasted Li Chenglong for a full 2 minutes before using the Flaming Sun Sutra to absorb the heat. He just stood there and watched as Li Chenglong's clothes and hair evaporated in a very short time. A brand new big bald head was born. Swollen couldn't take it anymore and wanted to go out. Duo comforted him as he absorbed the heat. After about 20 minutes, the entire space finally became warm and comfortable. It was no longer like a furnace purgatory like before. However, Li Chenglong had already followed in Duo's footsteps. He was completely naked from head to toe. Every part of his body was bare. He was squatting on the ground with his hands covering his private parts. His face was full of shame and anger. This is too much. Why aren't you wearing any clothes? You exhibitionist. Duo said with extreme disdain. Why are you covering your little worm? Fuck. Don't point your butt at me. Li Chenglong wanted to cry but no tears came out. How am I an exhibitionist? Isn't this all your fault? Do you still have a conscience? Why did you only protect my body and not my clothes? Li Chenglong hurriedly took out clothes from his space ring and put them on as he complained angrily. Being happy alone is better than being happy together. Duo touched his bald head and said, "Now I finally feel a bit of balance. Brothers should share blessings and misfortunes. Don't you think so?" Swollen was so angry that he was about to explode. "You turned me into a bald man because of this reason. You're crazy." Don't be angry. There's really good news. After experiencing misfortune together, we'll naturally enjoy blessings together. Great news is waiting for you. The corpses of the two monster kings, the two saber-winged tigers in the yellow circle, and the heart of the sun had been hidden by Duo on the other side of the earth vein. It was not that Duo did not trust Li Chenglong. It was just that he had some reservations out of his cautious nature. Chonglu's godchild. Relationships between people are like this. They can be so close that they can talk about anything, but they can never reveal all their wealth, especially when it comes to treasures that you have a lot of but your brother doesn't. Duo would always remember Chonglu's teachings in his heart. Never test people's nature, because a test would be followed by a loss. It could not be said that there were no people in this world who would not be jealous or greedy in the face of such a peerless treasure. However, it would be good if there was 1 in 10 billion people. Take the supreme grade jade of astral souls as an example. If Duo gave Li Chenglong 1 piece, Swollen would be grateful. However, if Duo gave him 10 pieces in one go, he would be inexplicably shocked, but he would not be as touched as when he was only given 1 piece. Furthermore, if he knew that you had 1,000 pieces or more, he might complain that you gave too little. Why didn't you give a few more pieces? You didn't care about brotherhood at all. This was probably the difference between being indebted to someone and being hated to be indebted to another. Duo would not test him like this. Why are there so many space rings? The moment Li Chenglong looked at them, he was indeed shocked. On the empty ground in front of him, there were 20 rows of space rings neatly arranged. 50 in each row. 20 rows, 50 in each row? That was a total of 1,000 space rings. 1,000 space rings. Li Chenglong felt that he was going to faint. This is simply, even if the wealth in the space rings was not included, just these 1,000 space rings were already a considerable amount of wealth. Space rings were not easy to get. For ordinary practitioners, they had to at least have cultivation in the embryonic breathing realm to have enough deific consciousness to open the space rings. Duo had a higher starting point. The first thing he got was the space ring that Blind Hong had left him. Now he had obtained so many space rings in one go, which made the space rings seem like common goods. In terms of quality, more than 70% of the space rings that Duo had obtained were better than the space rings that Li Chenglong was wearing. After all, it was the lifetime savings of a high-ranking bounty hunter. How could it not be good? What are the things in these rings that I have not cleaned up? I definitely can't clean it up by myself. It would be a waste of time. Let's do it together. It will definitely be faster. Duo said. Li Chenglong said angrily, "What do you mean by let's do it together? Isn't it just me doing it alone? How can I not know you?" Duo said matter-of-factly, "Since you understand, then let's start working, Engineer Li." Li Chenglong straightened his neck and said, "How much is the commission?" Duo said angrily, "What commission?" Li Chenglong said, "Don't you pay when you hire people to work? You said that we will do it together, but how much can you do? Don't you have any idea? You still owe me now." Duo started counting with his fingers. The market value is about 1.5 No Alliance continents. That is that. Li Chenglong's attitude was tough. As for the debt, you can calculate it however you want and add interest. But the benefits in front of him had to be obtained first. Say it. 2 rings of the best quality with the largest storage space, and 1% of the total profits. Swollen demanded. Bullshit. Why don't you go rob a bank? It's fine if you want the rings, but you dare to ask for 1% of the total profits? That's too much. Duo was angry. Get out, I'll count it myself. I'd rather work hard than be exploited by a villain like you. I'm not going out. Also, you should know who's exploiting who. Li Chenglong, you're too greedy. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Duo was angry and started giving examples. This is like the richest man in the world. He has more than 1 trillion in assets and he wants to know how much money he has. So he hires a few accountants and says, Count it for me. Then these accountants say to the richest man, we can count it, but we want 1% of it. Li Chenglong, do you think this is reasonable? Don't you think you're too much? Li Chenglong was stunned. Damn, it actually makes sense. Then tell me how much you'll give me. I'll give you 100 mid-grade astral souls jades. Swishaoduo said generously. Are you trying to dismiss a beggar? Li Chenglong rolled his eyes. 200 mid-grade. 10,000 high-grade. Li Chenglong demanded an exorbitant price. Go to hell. 8,000. Go to hell. 5,000. Deal. Li Chenglong was discouraged. Based on his understanding of Swishaoduo, he knew that he had asked for too little. Swishaoduo crossed his legs and whipped Li Chenglong's back. You've already received your pay, so hurry up and get to work. You're a long-term worker, what are you waiting for? Even the donkeys in the production team don't dare to rest like you. Li Chenglong muttered to himself regretfully, I've lost money. Before Swishaoduo came back, Li Chenglong had already known that this kid must have gained a lot. As his closest subordinate, he would definitely be able to take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune. This was the inevitable outcome. Li Chenglong knew that if he went out this time, he would also share the good things with Swishaoduo when he came back. This was the relationship between the two of them. However, this guy treated it as his pay. This was a clear price. But this was simply bullying. I shouldn't have mentioned the pay, I should have asked for a gift. Li Chenglong felt that he had been tricked. He should have received 2 gifts, but now he only received 1. I've lost so much. He started to work on the space ring, which made him complain even more. Mamma mia, the divine sense restriction on it hasn't been broken. Isn't this a scam? Chapter 632. Li Chenglong wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This time it was even worse. He had to use his own spiritual power to melt the imprint on the ring, and then erase it. Only then could he open the interspatial ring. In this way the workload was not just multiplied, it was multiplied by 10 times or even dozens of times. It should be known that many of the imprints on the rings were left by cloud transformation stage, or even royal god stage cultivators. Li Chenglong, this Xiao ant. Cough cough. Left skinning. You're ruthless. Li Chenglong gnashed his teeth and began to work. Of course, the other worker was not idle either. Before Li Chenglong came in, Swishaoduo had already sent Xiaolong out to continue moving the earth veins. Now the treasures in the interspatial ring could only sustain life but could not grow. How could this be? Eat my food, live my house, play my games, drink my money, take my money and don't work. How could this be justified? Swishaoduo expressed that he couldn't stand such a situation. After promising the little dragon a generous reward of 1 DD per earth vein, the little dragon happily went out to work. About 5 or 6 minutes later, the first ring was unlocked. Walla walla, a pile of things appeared in front of him. All kinds of medicinal pills, healing pills, cultivation pills, detoxification pills, recovery pills, spirit pills. Everything. All kinds of clothes, disguise tools, hidden weapons, astral souls, jade, medicinal herbs, tents, bedding, underwear, food, drinks, tobacco, alcohol, sugar, tea, and all kinds of other things. There were also 2 martial arts manuals. There were more than 100 kinds of things. It was as if he had poured out a grocery store. Moreover, it was the super kind. Li Chenglong's heart jumped in fright. Fuck. Immediately, he sorted these things one by one. Useless things like tents, clothes, and so on were all thrown to one side. These things were either thrown out or burned to ashes in the interspatial ring. As long as they were useful, they were sorted and placed at a distance of more than 10 feet. If there were any, they were directly thrown out. In this way, 50 interspatial rings were taken out in a row. Li Chenglong completely lost his temper. He directly lay on the ground and played dead. She refused to get up no matter what. Being able to do this kind of work was simply a gift from the heavens. He handled it accurately and quickly. However, in this situation, Li Chenglong was at a loss. He had suffered a great loss. This was simply bullying. It looked like there were only 1,000 rings, but in some of the interspatial rings, there were actually several other interspatial rings. Among them, the biggest haul so far was a small mountain of resources after one of the rings was opened. There were also more than 30 space rings that had yet to be unsealed. In other words, they weren't empty, but the kind that hadn't been checked yet. This was equivalent to increasing the workload for the swelling by several times. Li Chenglong worked himself to death to open the first row of 50 rings, but in reality, he had done the work of 120 rings. Swollen felt like he was about to go crazy. Looking at the piles of various materials around him, he was dazzled. There were 120 rings, and the items stored in them were listed below: 1 piece of supreme-grade jade of astral souls. More than 40,000 pieces of superior-grade jade of astral souls. Middle-grade jade of astral souls. More than 2 million. Various types of elixirs. 1,900 bottles. Various mid-grade and low-grade heavenly treasures. 140 stocks. 17 pieces of superior-grade heavenly treasures. 27 martial arts manuals. Various types of swords and weapons. 340. And a mountain of miscellaneous items. Cigarettes, alcohol, sugar, tea, clothes, bedding, tents, and other daily necessities were all included in the same category. What was worth mentioning was that in one of the interspatial rings, there was a small mountain of tens of thousands of women's underwear. There were hundreds of different types of big brassieres, and all of them were of different sizes. There were hundreds of different types of underwear. Li Chenglong's eyes were wide open. His horizons had truly been broadened. He even took the underwear that looked like 2 strings and compared it to his body. He studied it for a long time in confusion. This is for tying hair. In short, Swollen was exhausted. Li Chenglong said weakly, "Zwa, you'd better deal with these first. Otherwise your space is not enough." Li Chenglong was telling the truth. Just the underwear alone was a mountain that was hundreds of feet high. There were thousands of cigarettes, almost 4,000 to 5,000 boxes of wine, and thousands of pounds of tea leaves. Not to mention other things. Zwa Xiaoduo did not expect the scene to be so big when he just started to deal with it. Even the space-destroying tower could not handle it. He said generously, "Swollen, look at these. Other than the astral souls, elixirs, manuals, elixirs, weapons, meteorites, and strange metals. You can take whatever you want. You can take them all." Li Chenglong lay on the ground. He felt his tears of sorrow flowing like a river. "Damn you! You made it sound so nice. Other than what you said, the rest are the clothes, underwear, tents, bedding, and so on. Oh, and that mountain of women's underwear. So what you really mean is that you want me to throw rubbish for you? The tobacco, wine, sugar, and tea are all good stuff. They are worth a lot of money. I'll give them all to you. Are you happy now?" Zwa Xiaoduo continued to be generous. Li Chenglong expressed that he didn't care. "I don't want those things." Looking at the mountain of high and middle grade star spirit jades, Swollen's heart was filled with waves of sorrow. "I'm dealing with a mountain of gold." But for Boss Sun, getting these things was really more delightful than receiving money. In fact, the value of these things was much higher than the Astral Soul's jade powder. Mr. Sun couldn't help but feel grateful. He made up his mind that he wouldn't let Mr. Zwa down, and he would do everything beautifully. Zwa Xiaoduo left as soon as the matter was settled. He didn't give much. He only gave out 50 bottles of wine, 10 sticks of expensive cigarettes, more than 40 pounds of candy, and 5 to 6 pounds of top-grade tea leaves. These were just a drop in the ocean from what he had seized. However, he knew that it wouldn't be good if he gave too much. Tobacco, wine, and sugar were used quickly, so he gave more. Tea was slow, so he gave less. These were at least enough to support Mr. Sun for 2 to 3 months. However, if he wanted more in the future, it would depend on whether he performed well. If he really gave him all the high-end tobacco, wine, sugar, and tea in the mountain, Mr. Sun might just retire. As long as he sold those things, he would become a new super millionaire, and he wouldn't have to worry about anything for the rest of his life. Zwa Xiaoduo wouldn't do such a thing. If he retired, who would work for him? In the space, Li Chenglong was sweating profusely. It wasn't because of the heat of the heart of the sun, but because of the centipede meat. Chu Chu didn't know how to deal with it. The meat was raw. How should he eat it? Should he eat it raw or cooked? Chapter 633. Li Chenglong felt that when Zwa gave him the meat, he did not say that it was cooked. Instead, he gave him raw meat directly. What did this mean? Did this mean that this meat had to be eaten raw for it to be effective? That should be the understanding, right? Besides, this was usually the case. Li Chenglong also thought of roasting it before eating it, but he thought that if he roasted it, the spiritual energy inside would be gone. Not to mention roasting it, even if the spiritual energy was consumed. Li Chenglong felt that he would cry until he fainted. This was a great opportunity. Roasted it all away? What a joke. Looking at the white and translucent meat, it looked like prawn meat, and there was basically no fishy smell. But with this appearance, the taste should not be too bad. He would just treat it as sashimi. Li Chenglong only hesitated for a few seconds before he opened his mouth and took a big bite. Sure enough, other than a slight fishy smell, there was no other feeling. After chewing a few times, there was a faint sweetness. Fearing that he did not chew enough and could not use the spiritual energy, he closed his mouth tightly and chewed slowly in his mouth. He chewed the raw meat over and over for 5 minutes, savoring the aftertaste for a long time before he stretched his neck and swallowed it. He carefully put the rest of the meat away and began to circulate his energy to digest it. A few minutes later, Li Chenglong subconsciously screamed. He only felt that there was a sudden explosion of spiritual energy in his stomach. Countless spiritual energy suddenly emerged and rushed towards the meridians all over his body with an explosive force. The spiritual energy in his dantian that had just been compressed was rapidly increasing at a terrifying speed. Fearing for his life. It can't be, right? Only one bite? Li Chenglong didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly circulated his martial arts with all his strength to digest the abundant spiritual energy. The spiritual energy in his dantian grew denser and denser. Even though his dantian rotated faster and faster until it reached its limit, the spiritual energy rushing up from his stomach was still endless. Duo did not know, and neither did Li Chenglong. Li Chenglong's idea was correct. Although Duo ate a lot, the amount he ate was dozens or even hundreds of times more than swollen, and a piece of meat was worth several kilograms. However, Master Zhuo roasted the meat and ate it. Naturally, a lot of spiritual energy would be wasted during the roasting process. Although Duo benefited a lot before, it was only because of the large amount. It could be said that it was a real luxury, a reckless waste of a treasure. Duo did not think that Feifei would be so stupid as to eat it raw. However, Li Chenglong did indeed eat it raw, and the result of doing so was that the spiritual energy was not wasted at all. So the effect this time was simply explosive. Well, it was not just explosive, it was almost bursting. He was sweating profusely. He calmed himself down and did his best to compress his quintessence. Even if the timing was not right, he could not care. Rumble. Where? Duo was filling it with the Astral Soul's jade powder. But Li Chenglong did not have time to see where the sound was coming from. He had to compress it as soon as possible. Start. However, with this compression, a heart-piercing pain arose spontaneously and surged crazily. Li Chenglong's 7 orifices were full of spiritual energy. He was crazily absorbing and compressing while screaming crazily. This went on for a whole 2 hours before he lay on the ground like a pile of mud, trembling all over. The second round of compression was finally done. As for the spiritual aura in his dantian, it was still nearly half filled by the spiritual aura that entered his dantian. This is too close. What kind of meat is this? Why is it so strange? Li Chenglong took out the centipede meat and looked at it over and over in his hands. The more he looked at it, the more he liked it. Although there was still some lingering fear, it did not stop him from liking it. So good. This thing. It's a pity that I don't dare to eat anymore. If I eat again, my meridians won't be able to eat anymore. At the very least, I'll need to rest for at least 3 hours before I can continue. Haste makes waste, haste makes waste. Li Chenglong looked as if he had found a treasure. His eyes were full of gratitude. He knew very well how rare this kind of spiritual energy that could increase one's cultivation was. It was priceless and priceless. It was a blasphemy to the spiritual energy. Anyone who obtained it would hide it well and leave it for themselves to enjoy. But Duo threw it to him like a rag. Did Duo not know the use of this meat? That was a joke. He threw it to him from the beginning and told him not to eat too much. How could he not know the terrifying effect of this thing? He knew and returned it. That was a huge favor. No, it could not be described as a favor. This was a deep brotherhood. Swollen and swollen, he conquered himself. His eyes were red and his heart was surging. He was really touched. What more can I ask for in this life to have such a brother? Li Chenglong took a deep breath. He was filled with excitement. From now on, Li Chenglong will achieve great things with Zhua. Li Chenglong. When he reached the climax of his self-conquering, Zhua Xiaoduo came back. Seeing Li Chenglong in a sorry state, with bulging meridians and blood spots on his body, Zhua Xiaoduo couldn't help but jump in fright. Why did he have such a big reaction? Was it necessary? Was it necessary? Boss, Zhua. Li Chenglong rushed forward and hugged Zhua Xiaoduo. He said sincerely, "Thank you. Thank you." Zhua Xiaoduo raised his eyebrows and said deeply, "You don't have to thank me. We are brothers." Yes, we are brothers. Li Chenglong was about to cry again. He patted Zhua Xiaoduo's shoulder heavily and sniffed. Everything is said without words. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, he felt refreshed and laughed loudly. Zhua Xiaoduo was stunned again. After thinking for a while, he realized that Swollen had suddenly improved a lot and was a little too excited. Zhua Xiaoduo did not feel much because he still had tens of thousands of kilograms of such meat. He only gave away 2 kilograms in total. How could he feel? How is it? Zhua Xiaoduo asked. The second compression was completed directly. Li Chenglong was pleasantly surprised. I only took 1 bite. Only 1 bite. The spiritual energy there could not be contained. Not only did I complete the second compression, but the remaining spiritual energy also accumulated more than half of the spiritual energy in my dantian. Zhua Xiaoduo was so surprised that his eyeballs almost popped out. No way. The effect is so good. 1 bite. Is it because Li Chenglong's dantian is too small? But that shouldn't be the case. I often cultivate with Zong Zong. No one knows him better than me. Although his dantian can't be compared with mine, it's still much stronger than the average person's. Zong Zong's dantian can't be compared with Zong Zong's. Fortunately, boss reminded me not to eat too much early. Li Chenglong was still scared. He took out the meat and pointed at it. Look, I only took a small bite from here. Zhua Xiaoduo was stunned. You ate it raw. Li Chenglong was stunned with the meat in his hand. He paused for a while before he came back to his senses. Tastes good raw. It's not inferior to raw fish. Don't you eat it raw? Zhua Xiaoduo looked strange. It's not sashimi. Of course it's roasted and stewed. The expression on Li Chenglong's face immediately turned extremely strange. After a while he said fiercely, I like to eat it raw. This meat tastes fresh and sweet. It's delicious. It's your loss that you didn't eat it raw. Ha 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 ha. Zhua Xiaoduo looked at him and couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect this guy to be so reckless. Did he really think it was sashimi? What are you laughing at? Not only will I eat it raw now, I will eat the whole piece raw. Li Chenglong was angry out of humiliation. I know that you eat it after roasting it. Even if it tastes better after roasting it, it will inevitably lose most of its spiritual energy. Li Chenglong said with a pained expression, I know you're laughing at me, but I really can't bear to roast and eat such a precious treasure. Zhua Xiaoduo patted Li Chenglong's shoulder. You think too much. I'm not laughing at you. You should eat it raw. You're doing the right thing. Ha 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 ha. Li Chenglong was furious. The two of them started to wrestle. After a long time, the two of them calmed down. Li Chenglong went out of the Tower of Annihilation to rest. He really needed to rest now. After he went out, he fell asleep on the bed. When he woke up, he found that it was dawn. He washed up and went to school. When he arrived at school, he went to class. When he entered the gravity room to set the time, he found that his phone was broken. It's only 9 o'clock, but it's already afternoon. The quality of this phone is really bad. Unscrupulous merchants. I will never buy fruit brand in the future. He quickly adjusted his phone, put it into the space ring and began to cultivate. After Li Chenglong left, Zhua Xiaoduo also sat down and seriously considered this problem. He had harvested tens of thousands of pounds of meat this time. Li Chenglong could improve so much with just 1 bite. However, he didn't feel anything after eating for a few days. Did this mean that there was a limit to the effect of this thing? When the body adapted to this energy, no matter how much he ate, there wouldn't be any growth. In other words, no matter how much he ate, it would only satisfy a little of his appetite. It wouldn't have any more effect. Even if he left the portions for his parents, missing cat, Wanli Xiao, Yu Moyan, teacher Hu, and the others, it wouldn't consume too much. Based on Li Chenglong's weight, 200 to 300 pounds would be enough for everyone. No matter how much he used, he would be able to withstand 1,000 pounds. But there was still a lot of surplus left. He couldn't waste it, right? How should he deal with it? Sell it? Sell it to a first-grade firmament like before? No, this time was different from the past. This was the meat of the Star Beast Demon King, the essence of it. If he sold it rashly, it might benefit someone. Should he discuss it with Principal Yi tomorrow? No, Principal Yi was a selfless person. With his character, he would probably persuade him to donate it. Moreover, there was a high chance that he would take action. Why not just sell it? So he should discuss it with Teacher Wen tomorrow. Teacher Wen, this person that in terms of closeness, Shuo Duo was more inclined towards Wen Xingtian. If only Teacher Qin Fengyang was here. Shuo Duo sighed. Suddenly, his eyes flashed. Why was he so stupid? Teacher Qin wasn't here, but he could use the phone to contact Teacher Qin. Looking for monthly votes, recommendation votes, subscription. Thank you. Cough. No double monthly votes this month. Chapter 634. He was not at the Starlight Mountain Range now, so he could contact him by phone. It seemed that he had not contacted Teacher Qin for a long time, and he missed him quite a bit. Since he wanted to do it, he took out his phone. However, when he came out of the Tower of Annihilation, he looked up. Damn, it was already the latter half of the night. It was better to fight in the morning. While Shuo Duo was missing Qin Fengyang was still in the Starlight Mountain Range, still fighting. He was bathed in blood. He had only joined the battle at the Starlight Mountain Range in the latter half of the battle. The moment he arrived, he showed a murderous aura. With Qin Fengyang's character, he did not have any scruples. In his opinion, everyone who came here was here to kill his student. They all had bad intentions and were all enemies. He might not be able to find his student, but he knew how to kill. Every time he killed one, he would be in less danger. Therefore, during this period, Qin Fengyang was really more of a killer than a killer. The others had a specific target. However, Qin Fengyang did not. Whoever he met, he killed. As long as he could defeat them, he would kill without mercy. Of course, if he met those he could not defeat, he would turn and run. He would not linger. He was in the last 4 days of this game. However, in these 4 days, the number of people who died in his hands had exceeded the 500 mark. Although his battle achievements were remarkable, he had also caused himself to be riddled with scars. In the end, Shuo Duo had already left. However, Qin Fengyang did not know that Shuo Duo had left and was safe. In fact, most of the bounty hunters did not know that Shuo Duo had already left the Starlight Mountain Range. They continued to hide. As a result, Qin Fengyang was still in a constant battle atmosphere. At this time, the Starlight Mountain Range had become a natural hunting battlefield. 2 of the 3 monster kings guarding this area were gone. The remaining Tiger King was also scared out of its wits. Even if the battle was on top of its head, the Tiger King did not care. Originally, there were countless people hunting Shuo Duo. However, now it was Qin Fengyang who was hunting the remaining people. How could some masters not know that Shuo Duo had already left and returned to the martial arts Hidden Dragon High School after noticing that all the members had left? This time the bounty was destined to be a failure, so they all went back. Some of them even went to Fenghai City to try their luck. Those who didn't know that Shuo Duo had left were still waiting in the Starlight Mountains. Qin Fengyang was elusive in his hunting, but he was also elusive in his escape. This wait lasted until the wee hours of the morning. Pluto Palace issued a notice. Explanation of the bounty on Shuo Duo. Everyone clicked on it and was dumbfounded. I don't know why, but the person who put up the bounty withdrew the bounty and even killed the supervisor of the King of Hell Palace. Now, the King of Hell Palace has started to hunt down the few families that have put up the bounty. With this announcement, the reward was gone. Furthermore, the Hell King Palace didn't bear any responsibility. They were even the victims. There were a lot of excuses. For a moment, the entire underground world was filled with curses. Wasn't this a joke? There were more than 100,000 people playing the bounty with you. Many of them had just finished their own business and were rushing here. They were really on their way, but you canceled the bounty? Was this a joke? Was this a joke? Furthermore, the underground world's bounty had never been allowed to be cancelled. Whoever dared to cancel it would inevitably face the anger of the world's assassins. The moment the bounty was released, the wealth and treasures needed for the bounty would be taken over by the people of the King of Hell Palace, who was so bold that they even dared to kill the people of the King of Hell Palace. Suddenly there were discussions everywhere. After about 10 minutes, the King of Hell Palace released the hunting progress chart. About 2 hours later, the first hunting progress chart suddenly turned black and ended, turning into a string of ellipses. All the assassins who were paying attention to the information were in an uproar. This meant that the gold medal assassin sent by the King of Hell Palace was killed. The King of Hell Palace immediately issued a new notice. The other party's current identity is fake. The third palace master of the King of Hell Palace will personally lead the troops to arrest the culprit. After the investigation, the entire family will be under the King of Hell Palace. The King of Hell Palace will offer a bounty of the same price to this family. Note: the original bounty for Zhuoxiao Duo is cancelled. All the assassins were filled with righteous indignation. Not anger towards the King of Hell Palace, but anger towards the person who issued the bounty. After so many days, it had caused an unusually heavy number of casualties. It's time, but you ran away. What a fucking thing this was. The entire underground world was in complete chaos. No one suspected that the King of Hell Palace was faking it, because this kind of faking was an irreparable loss for the King of Hell Palace. The loss of reputation alone was unbearable. All the assassins left messages one after another. Find them, count me in on the hunt. You must find them and join the hunt. I can't get that bounty, so I'll take this one. The crowd was agitated. At this time, Qin Fengyang also knew that Zhuoxiao Duo had returned to Fenghai City. Since he knew that Zhuoxiao Duo was safe, he instantly lost interest in hunting these people. He who was riddled with wounds, found a secret place and began to heal his wounds. He was going to go to the Hidden Dragon High School to check on Zhuoxiao Duo at dawn. After making sure that Zhuoxiao Duo was fine, he was going to leave. However, when the sun rose in the morning, he took out his phone to check the time and found a message from Zhuoxiao Duo. Teacher Qin, where are you? Qin Fengyang immediately replied, I'll call you in 2 hours. Zhuoxiao Duo replied, okay. Qin Fengyang immediately came out of his hiding place and left the Starlight Mountains as fast as lightning. He didn't even turn his head. After receiving Qin Fengyang's reply, Zhuoxiao Duo immediately felt relieved. He felt that he had a backbone to support him. Then he would wait for Teacher Qin's news. Zhuoxiao's trust in Qin Fengyang not only exceeded Wen Xingtian, but also almost caught up with Hu Ruoyan. Wen Xingtian was still likely to consider problems from the perspective of the academy and the overall situation. However, Zhuoxiao Duo firmly believed that Teacher Qin would only consider problems from his own standpoint. This was the fundamental difference between the two of them. The reason why he trusted Teacher Hu was also the same. While Zhuoxiao Duo was waiting for Qin Fengyang, it was already 7 o'clock in the morning. Xiaolong was panting heavily as he moved an earth vein back to the cave. He was just chased out to work yesterday. In less than a day and a night, he actually came back with a ley line. Wasn't his efficiency too high? How can you be so fast? Zhuoxiao Duo was a little in disbelief. Xiaolong was so tired that he was out of breath. While panting, he gestured and explained. It turned out that this guy had divided a ley line into 5 parts and then took out 1/5 of it. Every day, he would move about the same amount. One ley line would be taken out for 4 days, leaving 1/5 behind to maintain the original landscape. It was not a big deal. In this way, it wouldn't cause any big changes when he took out the other ley lines. This way, he could deal with it faster. Zhuoxiao Duo agreed that this idea was very correct. A small stream flowed slowly was the absolute truth. It was much more reliable than building a tall building all at once. Xiaolong saw the Jade Astral Soul's powder that was like a small mountain at a glance. He was immediately energized. He started to work again and he was in high spirits. This time, the amount of Jade Astral Souls powder collected was almost twice as much as the total amount of Jade Astral Souls powder collected before. It was really worth being happy about. Overnight, the space in the Tower of Annihilation changed greatly. The ley line was originally very short, but now the highest point was already dozens of meters high. It was long and winding, and it seemed to have a bit of an atmosphere. However, the matter of changing the ley line in the space was not as simple as Wuxia Duo thought. Xiaolong had been busy since he came back. He was busy until Qin Fengyang called, but he was still busy. He was so busy that he was overjoyed and overjoyed. As the saying goes, every profession has its own specialist. Wuxia Duo would not accompany him. After all, Wuxia Duo knew nothing about how to do these things. He could only let Xiaolong do it on his own. It was fine as long as he couldn't swallow the thing inside. Xiaolong repeatedly said that he couldn't do it. It was just a virtual shadow. He couldn't swallow it even if he wanted to. At this moment Qin Fengyang called. His voice was as calm as ever. "What's the matter?" His voice was calm and there was a hint of impatience in his tone. However, Wuxia Duo could still hear the hidden happiness and relief in Qin Fengyang's voice. "I miss you, Teacher Qin." Wuxia Duo hurriedly laughed. "Nonsense. Why do you miss an old man like me?" Qin Fengyang rebuked angrily. However, he couldn't hide the indescribable comfort in his heart. In order to hide his emotions, Qin Fengyang coughed and said angrily, "If you have something to say it quickly. Is your skin too tight and you need to be taught a lesson?" Wuxia Duo chuckled. "Teacher Qin, your voice is so light. It seems like you're really itching for a beating?" Qin Fengyang was impatient. "If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." All right. Wuxia Duo hurriedly said. "Don't hang up, please don't hang up. The thing is, there's something I can't make up my mind about. Other than you, I really don't feel at ease asking anyone else." Qin Fengyang snorted. The cold tone he tried to put on melted instantly. He asked with concern, "What's the matter?" Wuxia Duo hesitated. "Where are you now? It's best to talk about it in person. It's not convenient to talk over the phone." It was naturally better to talk about this matter in person. It could also force Qin Fengyang to eat some of it. With such good meat and such a great bargain, it was naturally best to take care of his own people first. Qin Fengyang was silent for a moment, then said, "I'm almost at Fenghai." "Almost at Fenghai?" Wuxia Duo, who heard the news on the other side of the phone, immediately shouted excitedly. Then he heard this brat roaring and shouting as if he was doing somersaults on the other side of the phone. He was extremely excited. "Teacher Qin, you must have been at the Starlight Mountain Range before, right?" Wuxia Duo said happily, "I knew it. I was wanted and I was being hunted down. You definitely wouldn't just stand by and watch." Qin Fengyang felt that his heart was getting warmer and warmer. However, he said coldly, "Before your old principal died, he told me to keep an eye on you bastards. If it were me, I wouldn't even bother to move." "Tsundere." Teacher Qin was tsundere again. Wuxia Duo rolled his eyes happily. Then Wuxia Duo excitedly went out to buy vegetables. Although there were many good things in the ring, Wuxia Duo still felt that it wasn't enough. Especially, there weren't enough vegetables that were qualified. Wuxia Duo left a trail of dust and went to first-grade firmament. Yes, he was going there to buy vegetables. Now that he had a mountain of gold, of course he could be willful with money. Compared to Wuxia Duo's joy, Wen Xingtian immediately became serious. Wen Xingtian had heard the name Qin Fengyang so many times that his ears grew calluses. He didn't know how many times he had heard it from Wuxia Duo and Li Chenglong. In Wen Xingtian's opinion, at least one point was worth affirming and there was no doubt about it. Although he was very confident and he had done his best to teach students, at least in Wuxia Duo and Li Chenglong's hearts, Qin Fengyang's position was still unshakable. He could never replace Qin Fengyang's position in the hearts of these two geniuses. To put it bluntly, if he and Qin Fengyang were to meet with death at the same time, Wuxia Duo and Li Chenglong would only save Qin Fengyang first. This had nothing to do with one's cultivation level, it was because of their deep friendship. It was this understanding that made Wen Xingtian very curious. This Qin Fengyang, what kind of person was he? How could his charisma be so great? Therefore, he had already checked Qin Fangyang's information many times. Qin Fangyang probably couldn't remember many small things, but when Xingtian knew, the more he checked, the more he admired him. The more he checked, the more he appreciated him. An absolute man, an absolute man, an absolute warrior, an absolute lover, and an absolute good teacher. A teacher who could burn his own legacy for the sake of his students. It would be strange if such a teacher couldn't obtain the sincerity of his own students. Now that Qin Fangyang was here, when Xingtian thought more than Zhuo Xiaoduo, wasn't this a test for him? Wasn't this a test for the hidden dragon realm? This matter could be said to be very small, but it could also be said to be very big. If the hidden dragon realm didn't pay much attention to it, after Qin Fangyang left, Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong would at least hold a grudge against him, even if they didn't cause any trouble. When Xingtian immediately informed Yi Chongqing about this matter, Yi Chongqing also felt that the hidden dragon realm couldn't be weak. Then he told Xiang Quangren about this matter. Xiang Quangren felt that this was an opportunity. He straightforwardly said that he would bring Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing to attend the ceremony. Then Vice Principal Gao also said that he was about to be transferred away. He had already handed over all his work. At this last moment, if he could strengthen the Hidden Dragon Realm's reputation, he wouldn't pass on his responsibility. Vice Principal Chang had already returned to the Hidden Dragon Realm. Although he hadn't returned to his original position, he had already started to participate in the school's management. He also said that he wanted to drink a few cups of wine. Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong had helped a lot in the Cheng family's affairs. Vice Principal Cheng had long wanted to thank them in person, so he wanted to take this opportunity to thank Qin Fangyang face to face. After all, they were his students. As for the other vice principals, Vice Principal Wei, Vice Principal Wu, and Vice Principal Liu had already been relieved of their duties. They were even locked up. The people from Shangjing were on their way here. When they arrived, they would be escorted back. These three wouldn't come. However, the other vice principal, the already disabled Vice Principal Liu, was given a strict order by Yi Chongqing. He must come. In Yi Chongqing's opinion, Vice Principal Liu was the glory of the Hidden Dragon Realm. In order to protect his students, he had become disabled for life. It was to show the spirit of the Hidden Dragon Realm. Although Vice Principal Liu was disabled, if he didn't come, Yi Chongqing would feel a little weak when facing Qin Fangyang. Qin Fangyang was willing to burn his soul for his students. Who in the Hidden Dragon Realm could do that? Vice Principal Zhan, the father of teacher Zhan Xiaofei, said that he had to drink this wine. There were also three vice principals who didn't have much of a presence. One was in charge of logistics, one was in charge of cultural theory, and the last one was in charge of miscellaneous affairs. They had also received Yi Chongqing's notice. However, the three of them were used to not having much of a presence. They politely declined and said that they wouldn't join in the fun. We're in the Hidden Dragon Realm for our retirement. If we go, we'll only lose face. We won't go and embarrass ourselves. Yi Chongqing said that he understood. The three of them had long been focused on their retirement. They weren't young anymore. There was no room for improvement in their cultivation. They were only a few decades away from the end of their lifespans. Even if they didn't have any desires, they were close. Zhan Xiaofei strongly expressed that he had to go this time. He had to go. No matter what, Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong were brought to the Hidden Dragon Realm by him. He had to drink this wine. He had to go even if he didn't want to. Vice Principal Zhan directly scolded him away. You're going to drink too? We're going to share the same table? You want to be on equal footing with me? Teacher Zhan Xiaofei covered his face and left. He was still unwilling. In short. In total, those who were prepared to attend the banquet from the Hidden Dragon Realm were Yi Chongqing, Wen Xingtian, Vice Principal Liu, Vice Principal Xiang, Vice Principal Cheng, Vice Principal Zhan, Vice Principal Gao. There were also two juniors, Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing. In addition, Li Chenglong and Zhuo Xiaoduo. Of course, there was one person who couldn't be ignored. That was Grandma Shi. However, Grandma Shi wasn't someone who was invited by Yi Chongqing. She had long been listed as the top guest of Zhuo Xiaoduo's banquet. Her position was even higher than Wen Xingtian and Yi Chongqing. It could be said that if all the people at the Hidden Dragon Realm were to be caught in one fell swoop, the Hidden Dragon Realm would never be able to recover from this setback. There would be no future to speak of. It was also very possible that the Hidden Dragon Realm would collapse like ice. When Xingtian and Yi Chongqing were both preparing themselves, especially when Xingtian, it was as if he was facing a great enemy. Zhou Xiaoduo rarely treated people. He didn't understand at all what Qin Fengyang's visit meant. Perhaps after knowing the considerations of both sides, he would laugh in his heart and think that Qin Fengyang was making a big fuss over nothing. But these matters, whether it was Qin Fengyang, Yi Chongqing, or Wen Xingtian, they all knew about it. Moreover, they paid attention to it and cared about it very much. In the end, it was just one word. Shame. The good children that I painstakingly trained have come to your side. How have you taught them? These two children in my hands are the seeds of peerless geniuses. Under my education, they didn't let down their aptitude at all. In my hands, they already have the potential to soar into the sky. Now that they're in your hands, what have you done? What are the abilities of you bunch of teachers? Can I rest assured and hand my children over to you? The Hidden Dragon Realm, from top to bottom, is ready for battle. Chapter 636. In this meeting, even if Qin Fengyang casually said something bad or showed the slightest dissatisfaction, the Hidden Dragon High Martial Artist would feel embarrassed and lose face for the Hidden Dragon High Martial Artist. Being despised by the student's first teacher, everyone would feel a burning sensation on their faces and it would not feel good. How could Yi Chongqing and the others not be cautious? If it were the other two students, perhaps they would not take it so seriously. However, Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong were different. Yi Chongqing and the others firmly believed that if these two children did not die prematurely due to bad luck, as long as they grew up, they would definitely be recorded in the textbooks in the future. They would definitely be immortal legends in the future. At that time, whether it was Qin Fengyang, He Yuanyue, Yi Chongqing, or Wen Xingtian, they would all be recorded in the history books together. This was something that could be expected. If they were recorded in the history books, Yi Chongqing felt that even if he died at that time, he would not be able to rest in peace. The image in the history books. Therefore, this was a big matter. 11 o'clock in the morning. Qin Fengyang's tall and straight figure appeared at the entrance of the villa. Zhou Xiaoduo, who had been waiting for so long, cheered and rushed forward. He did not care about Qin Fengyang's strict, "Be more steady. What are you doing?" reprimanded him and directly rushed forward to hug him, laughing and jumping. Ha 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 ha. Teacher Qin, when you left, I thought you wouldn't care about us anymore. Zhou Xiaoduo laughed loudly at first, then his eyes turned red. The words that followed actually sounded a little aggrieved. Thinking back to when Qin Fengyang decided to leave, he felt sad. Qin Fengyang's heart was surging with emotions. I won't care about you anymore. How can I not care? These are the children that I poured my heart and soul into. How can I not care about them? After being away for so long, the ones that I can't let go of the most are you little ones. Especially this frisky monkey in front of him who was kicked by him like a shuttlecock in Phoenix City's second high school. Qin Fengyang's eyes instantly turned red. She gently stroked Zhou Xiaoduo's head and said softly, All right, let's go in first. Countless memories of the past flooded his mind. Many things of the past suddenly surged into his mind, rising and falling. The peaches and plums of the spring breeze under the heavens are carved with a jade brush for 10,000 years. This was Zhou Xiaoduo's comment to He Yuanyue. Now that Qianqian that the child was still safe. Did you see that? Li Chenglong, who had already taken a leave of absence because of this matter, also rushed up like a tiger. Teacher Qin, woo. Swollen was so happy that he shed tears. It's so good to see you again. What are you crying for? What a good for nothing. Qin Fengyang frowned. Go in. Okay. Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong, one on the left and one on the right, pulled Qin Fengyang into the villa. I've already brewed your favorite tea. The three of them disappeared at the entrance of the villa. At the entrance of the small courtyard, Grandma sure had a rare smile on her face. She recognized Qin Fengyang. I didn't expect Qin Fengyang, one of the top 10 desperados, to be so loved and respected by the students. Not bad. Yi Chongqing and the others could not come now. They had to leave some time for them to meet and greet the students. If they came too early now, it would only appear that they were too deliberate. Principal Yi and the others still had a good grasp of this. Not bad, you can actually live in a standalone villa. Qin Fengyang was very surprised by this. He did not hide it and directly asked, "Hey Teacher Qin, you're so handsome today." Humph. Qin Fengyang felt uncomfortable under the gaze of Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong. He said angrily with a fierce face, "What are you looking at? Why, can't I wear good clothes as a teacher?" That's not it. The main thing is that Teacher Qin is really handsome today. You're a proper middle-aged handsome man. And also unprecedentedly formal. Even when he was working as a teacher, Qin Fengyang did not dress so formally. It was unprecedented. His hair was neat and tidy, and his face was clean. Then he wore a snow-white shirt with the kind of wrinkles that had just been opened, paired with a well-ironed blue gown, and a pair of brand-new black shiny high-end leather shoes that could almost be used as a mirror. Everything showed Qin Fengyang's seriousness. And TSK. Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong sniffed around Qin Fengyang. When they saw Qin Fengyang just now, they smelled a faint fragrance. Qin Fengyang actually used perfume. Yes, it should be a men's perfume. Teacher Qin's perfume is so high-end. Li Chenglong praised. A man's perfume should be so faint. It's useless if it's a little light, but it's a little thick, it's a little tacky. Teacher Qin is indeed knowledgeable and has good taste. Go away. You two brats, do you know what a man's taste is? Qin Fengyang's face turned red. He slapped Li Chenglong 3 meters away. Teacher Qin was really a little embarrassed now. Fuck, if I didn't do it for the two of you, would I have to dress so formally and seriously? If I dress so formally, I'm afraid that the last time I dressed like this was decades ago, when I was with Qianqian. After fooling around for a while, the three of them sat down to drink tea. Many years have passed since we parted in Feng City, we've worn away in the mortal world. Today we meet again and you're fine, and they talked about the past in detail. Qin Fengyang's face was full of rare smiles. He quietly listened to Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong talk about what happened after they parted. They started from the Central Plains Longhu list. They talked about everything big and small all the way. At this moment, Qin Fengyang played the role of the most qualified listener. From time to time he would ask what happened after that, to help the two of them talk. They talked from 11:10 to 12 o'clock. Then the three of them had a simple meal. Well, actually they were still talking. They talked as they ate. After they finished eating they continued to talk. They talked all the way until 1:30. Finally they came to an end. Qin Fengyang listened with a smile. He listened to the two of them talk about the mountain and the dust, but he didn't expose them. Li Chenglong went to class reluctantly. The reason was that when Qin Fengyang heard the last sentence, he said with a smile, "Xiaoduo, I have something to talk to you about in a while." Li Chenglong had always been an understanding person. Teacher Qin must have something important to say this time. Since he didn't say it in front of him, then he shouldn't ask. Seeing Li Chenglong leave, Zhou Xiaoduo sighed softly and said, "Actually, there's no need to hide this matter from Swollen. It's just that the benefits are too great. If it's not necessary, I don't want to get him involved." Qin Fengyang said clearly, "Your consideration isn't wrong at all. Young people are hot-blooded and loyal. They are often willing to share any secret with their friends. Even if they think that they are hiding something from their brothers, they would feel guilty. But what I want to tell you is, the loyalty of young people is unreliable. They are too hot-blooded and too impulsive. Especially when huge benefits are involved, it's too easy for them to lose their composure. So, before we go through life and death together, before our friendship is verified by life and death and benefits, don't share all your secrets. If you fall out with each other, it will be a lifetime of pain." There was pain in Qin Fengyang's eyes that he didn't want to recall. Back then, when he went out with Qianqian and those three classmates, did he not treat them as brothers and friends because he was young? But when huge benefits were involved, the young and inexperienced at that time couldn't hold back. There are too many regrets in my life. All because I trusted too easily. Qin Fengyang sighed deeply. "Xiaoduo, let me tell you something. You must remember it." Zhou Xiaoduo said respectfully, "Please tell me." Sometimes, when it's appropriate to hide something, it's not because you let your friends down, but because you don't want to lose them. Everyone has secrets that they can't let others know. That's a normal life and a normal relationship with friends. Zhou Xiaoduo listened thoughtfully. That sentence really made him think about it for a long time. Qin Fengyang smiled faintly and said, I know that you are close and close. Then, do you have any secrets that you can't let Li Chenglong, Long Yuxing and the others know? Zhou Xiaoduo was stunned and said, There is. Qin Fengyang continued to ask, Do they have secrets that they can't tell you? Zhou Xiaoduo was startled once again, and said, Of course there are. Qin Fengyang said meaningfully, Then are you close? Zhou Xiaoduo understood. Yes. Qin Fengyang patted him on the shoulder. That's why it's normal. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded slowly. Those words had a big impact on him. Because just now Zhou Xiaoduo felt that if he talked to Teacher Qin like that and asked Li Chenglong to leave, wouldn't he be letting his brother down? This kind of thought really made him feel uncomfortable. And Qin Fengyang obviously saw this. So he deliberately said those words to dispel the negative feelings in his heart. Because Qin Fengyang knew that children of this age were very easy to conquer. They would have the thought, Am I letting my brother down by doing this? And once this thought arose, it could no longer be suppressed. Especially when their brother showed some dissatisfaction at a certain time, they would have the thought of making up for what happened before. Once this thought arose, they would often do something like, Brother, do you know I didn't let you know about what happened last time? How could I? After saying that, they would feel happy, thinking that they had opened their hearts to their brother. But they didn't expect that this was an extremely childish behavior. Because often after doing this they would lose this friend. At least, the friendship they had accumulated in the past would be difficult to continue. And all secrets could not be kept. Young people were new to the world. They lacked the basic experience and had not gone through many tests. Friendship at this time was the best and purest state, but it was also the most vulnerable and dangerous state. Qin Fengyang felt that he needed to teach them this lesson. Seeing Zhou Xiaoduo's thoughtful and enlightened look, Qin Fengyang couldn't help but smile amiably. If all the young people in the world could understand this, then the tragedy of Chantian and I might not happen again. Now, can you tell me what you can't make up your mind about? Qin Fengyang chuckled. Chapter 637. Here's the thing. Zhou Xiaoduo said, I got some things by accident and there are a lot of them. These things are extremely beneficial to martial artists' cultivation. But I can't make up my mind on how to deal with these things. As he spoke, Zhou Xiaoduo took out a large piece of meat. Teacher Qin, this is for you. Qin Fengyang was a martial arts expert. Regardless of cultivation or experience, he was an experienced martial artist. Although he had just entered the God-reigning realm, he had experienced hundreds of battles. His insight and experience were far beyond that of ordinary God-reigning cultivators. As soon as he touched this piece of king-level demon beast meat, he could feel the vigorous and pure spiritual energy within it. He was so shocked that he almost jumped up. This is too valuable. Qin Fengyang's expression changed. The large piece of meat in his hand was at least 200 kilograms. How could he accept it? Accepting such a large gift rashly was beyond the scope of teacher-student friendship. What was Zhou Xiaoduo's cultivation level? How did he get such a high-end item? Teacher Qin, I have to tell you this seriously. This thing. I have tens of thousands of kilograms. Tens of thousands of kilograms. Qin Fengyang was stunned. It's a coincidence. Cough. Someone else killed it and didn't want it, so I picked up a bargain. Zhou Xiaoduo laughed mischievously. He looked around and said sneakily, Picked up a bargain. Qin Fengyang sighed. You really dared to pick up such a bargain. Looks like this person knows you, and your friendship is not ordinary, right? If it's a stranger, why don't you try picking up this bargain? Believe it or not, this person can easily take your life. But this kid's luck is really good. Zhou Xiaoduo said in distress, The reason why I gave you these is because, after a person eats about 100 kilograms, or after eating a few times, the body will get used to it, or it will develop a resistance to it, and it can no longer increase its cultivation level. Otherwise, I would have given you a few thousand kilograms. Zhou Xiaoduo grinned. He deeply felt that he had given too little. Hearing this, Qin Fengyang pondered for a while. Looking at the meat in front of him, he said, "The meat of demonic beasts does have this characteristic. The fundamental reason is that demonic beasts are fundamentally different from human beings because of their meridians and cultivation system. After they absorb the energy of heaven and earth, they don't have the systematic digestion and cultivation like human beings. No matter how many treasures they eat, or how many other demonic beasts they eat, they store all the energy in their own bodies. This is also the fundamental reason why the bodies of demonic beasts are much stronger than those of human cultivators of the same level." If you still don't understand, let's make another example. A cloud transformation realm demonic beast usually hunts nascent soul transformation realm and primal core realm star beasts. And this cloud transformation realm demonic beast has to eat a few meals a day. It has to eat a lot of star beasts a day. And according to the human understanding of spiritual energy, all the star beasts that it ate contained a large amount of spiritual energy in their bodies. Am I right? Zhuoxiaoduo nodded. Yes, you are right. And this cloud transformation realm demonic beast needs dozens of years before it can reach the God-reigning realm. The longer it takes, the more it needs to train. During this period of time, the food it eats are those star beasts. If the energy in its body is gathered together, it will be hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of times more than this cloud transformation realm demonic beast. Do you understand? Of course I do. But this cloud transformation realm demonic beast didn't explode after eating so much energy, and its body couldn't absorb so much energy at all. So where did all the energy go? A considerable part of it is excreted by the movement of feces, and the most essential part is hidden in the blood, flesh, and bones of the cloud transformation realm demonic beast. So where many star beasts live, treasures of heaven and earth are easy to grow. People say that treasures of heaven and earth must be guarded by powerful star beasts, but it is wrong. The order should be reversed. First, there are powerful star beasts, and then there are treasures of heaven and earth. Because this place is full of energy. Qin Fengyang said, "Do you understand now?" Yes. For ordinary people, one bite of this meat that contains such a large amount of spiritual energy will make their body explode. It will be like eating a bomb, or even more powerful than a bomb. A bomb can blow up the human body, but it can't blow up the meridians. But this meat targets the blood vessels and meridians of the whole body first. If the body can't bear it, it will collapse and explode. Qin Fengyang said. And this kind of meat is a rare tonic for warriors who have reached a certain level. However, just like how cloud transformation realm demonic beasts eat those star beasts as food, their cultivation base may increase rapidly when they eat the star beasts for the first or second time. But as they eat more and more of this kind of demonic beast meat, their body composition will naturally increase with the addition of this kind of spiritual energy. When its body is saturated with this kind of spiritual energy, this kind of meat will no longer have any effect on it. This is the most basic principle. Qin Fengyang looked at the 200 kilograms of king centipede meat in front of him and said with a smile, "Since you said you have a lot, then I have no reason to refuse if you give it to me. But I have hunted demonic beasts for so many years, and have eaten a lot of demonic beast meat. So, although I haven't eaten this kind of king-level demonic beast meat, the most I can bear is 70 to 80 kilograms at most, and that's when I reach the saturation point. So, I will take half of your 200 kilograms. 100 kilograms is the most I am willing to accept." He cut the meat into 2 halves, put 1 half into his space ring, and handed the other half back to Zhuoxiaoduo. Zhuoxiaoduo hesitated and didn't take it. Qin Fengyang smiled. "I won't let go of this kind of opportunity to increase my strength. You said you have a lot. If I don't accept it, then I will be unreasonable." Zhuoxiaoduo secretly curled his lips. "You are talking as if you are not unreasonable." Qin Fengyang continued. "But accepting it is one thing, but eating more is a waste. This kind of spiritual meat can make a martial artist grow quickly. If we eat it after we have enough energy, it will really be a waste of God's gift." Zhuoxiaoduo took it back with relief and said, "But this meat is my headache now." Qin Fengyang frowned. "What do you mean?" Zhuoxiaoduo's eyes were a little conflicted. "I have about 80 kilograms of this kind of king-level spiritual meat." Zhuoxiaoduo took out a few more pieces, each weighing 100 kilograms, and said, "Mr. Qin, please help me pass these to Mr. Mu, Mr. Luo Lai, Mr. Hu Ruoyun, Principal Li Chongjiang, Mr. Chiu Yunshang, Sister Lan, Director Zhang Zhongbin, General Sun Baijiang, Sun Fengho, and others." Zhou Xiaoduo took out 1,000 kilograms in one breath. Everyone who had helped him in the past had a share. Back then, everyone had sacrificed a lot for him in Yin Mao's soul-washing phoenix vein. Now that he had the ability, of course he had to repay them. And those seniors who sacrificed themselves in the phoenix pulse spirit. "I've prepared some money, a total of 100 million. When you go back you can share it with them. Also thank them for me. If there are any martial artists or children in the family who have good aptitude and can withstand the spiritual energy, I've prepared 2,000 kilograms of meat. You can also share it." Zhou Xiaoduo sighed and said, "I really want to do more, but with my current ability, this is all I can do. I hope that in the future, I can continue to repay their kindness in the battle to the death." The corner of Qin Fengyang's mouth twitched when he saw this. "Are you treating me as a delivery man?" This kid was so generous this time. He did not let down everyone's painstaking efforts. Just this act of repaying a debt of gratitude was enough to make him feel gratified. Especially when he still remembered that those who sacrificed themselves in the Phoenix Pulse spirit could compensate their families at all times. It made Qin Fengyang feel a boiling heat in his heart, because this was his conscience. Other than that, Qin Fengyang felt helpless. Since he had left that place, he did not want to feel sad because of the scenery. That city where Qianqian spent her whole life. Almost every place had Qianqian's footprints in her breath. But this guy just had to give him such a job as a delivery man that he could not refuse. Wasn't this making things difficult for him? However, on the surface it was just 1,000 kilograms of meat, but in fact it was sending those people's martial arts future into his hands. This was really... He had to go. Qin Fengyang could only sigh. Zhou Xiaoduo sneakily looked at Qin Fengyang's expression. When he saw that he had agreed, he actually rolled his eyes and took out another 500 kilograms. Since Teacher Qin has promised to make this trip, then a guest should not bother two hosts. Give this 200 kilograms to my sister. She's at Shangjing's Nine Heavens Pavilion now. I'll give you her number later. Cough cough. Since you're going to Shangjing, then Long Yuxing and Wanli Xiu are also there. Give this 200 kilograms to them. With their cultivation, I reckon that each of them can only take 100 kilograms. There will still be a lot left. Just treat it as a sumptuous meal. If I give more, I'm afraid that those two will be stuffed to death. You don't know, those two even drink bathwater." Qin Fengyang took it with a speechless face. He did not even have time to sigh. Zhou Xiaoduo said, "There's also Li Zhongming from Dragon Soul High School, and Yu Moyan. Teacher Qin, since you have nothing to do, aren't you here to visit us? You can't favor one and discriminate against the other. Let's go over and take a look. You don't have to work now and travel all over the world, but traveling everywhere is still traveling. While we're at it, 50 kilograms each." Qin Fengyang's forehead was filled with black lines, and he was speechless. After calculating it himself, he said dejectedly, "Hu Ruoyun and the rest are in Phoenix City, Long Yuxing is in Shangjing, Sun Bai is in Sun Moon Pass, Mu Yanyan is in Kunlun Taoism, Chiu Yunshang is in Zizai Taoism, Yu Moyan is in Guangdong, Li Zhongming is in Dragon Soul." Students Zhou Xiaoduo. How big is the Astral Soul's continent? How big is the work that you've arranged for me? You plan to let me travel around the entire continent? Zhou Xiaoduo said carefully, "How about I give you travel expenses? I'm very convenient now, 2 sleeves of gold. Get lost." Qin Fengyang scolded angrily but finally agreed. After calculating the next itinerary, he could not help but sigh. According to the route, he drew a circle on the map and marked each point. It was exactly a circle. It was really fucking round. Even a compass could not draw such a circle. Moreover, the people that he wanted to avoid, this kid did not leave out a single one. They were all included. If he walked this circle, he would not be able to finish it in a month. All right. Qin Fengyang sighed. I have a hard life. Chapter 638. Not selfish at all. Qin Fengyang corrected. This is what any normal person would think. You Zuoxiao Duo are not a savior. You are not an emperor or a prince. You are not a heavenly king or a marshal. You are not a teacher or a principal. You are just an individual. You don't have so many responsibilities to bear. So, you are absolutely right to think this way. Qin Fengyang said with certainty. Do you understand? If you can have such troubles, it proves that we didn't teach you for nothing. Because you have no obligation to take these things out. Even if others pay a price to exchange with you, you have no reason to do so. This is not selfishness. It is because you are not in a certain position. Saint Bitches all hope that others will donate all their property to help the poor. But Saint Bitches rarely take out a single cent, because Saint Bitches don't deserve to have wealth. They only need to look at other people's wealth, drool, and say strange things. Qin Fengyang chuckled. Now, you have tens of thousands of kilograms of spiritual meat. You don't want to donate it, but it is a waste to keep it. It is a pity to let it spoil for nothing. Under such circumstances, there are a few choices. Qin Fengyang considered. One of the choices is to use it to develop your own team. Well, in other words, who do you think will be your team in the future in the Hidden Dragon High Martial School? Or who do you think will be your team in the future? Or your future comrades? Make a small investment. This is not a free gift. They have to use things or wealth to exchange for it. But this is still a huge favor. I believe it will be of great benefit to you. As for how to choose and how to trade, you have to consider it yourself. I won't say more. Zuoxiao Duo pondered. The other choice is that you can take out a part of it and give it to the soldiers in the Sun Moon Pass. But, to be honest, the people in the Sun Moon Pass don't lack this thing. It is useless to them. So, this choice is dispensable. The reason why I gave you this option is because you have a relationship with the Southern Chief. This matter can be handled through him, and there won't be any future troubles for you. The third option is to look for your headmaster and ask the Hidden Dragon High School to handle this matter in the name of the school. This meat will be used as a reward for students with outstanding results. But the school has to give some compensation. Regardless of wealth, status, or honor, there must be some form of compensation. It must not be given without compensation. This is essential. Zuoxiao Duo listened quietly and did not respond for a long time. At this moment he was a little confused. Yes, Zuoxiao Duo had never been a great person, let alone a selfless person. 50,000 kilograms of spiritual meat could be used to increase one's cultivation base. Furthermore, it had been obtained from a rare king-grade astral beast. This was his own wealth. Regardless of where it had come from, it was now Zuoxiao's private property. There was no doubt about it. Of course, if he took it out, many people would benefit. This was the truth. But why should I take it out? If I were the marshal and the soldiers fought for me, of course I would take it out. If I were a general, my brothers would accompany me in building a career. For the sake of our camaraderie, I would be willing to take it out. If I were an emperor, I would gladly take it out in order to let my generals and soldiers protect the country and strengthen the country. But I'm not the emperor. I don't have any of the above identities. I'm just a student of the Hidden Dragon High School. Then, if I take it out, it will only be for people to say, "Good boy." I think this phrase is too expensive and too cheap at the same time. Yes, Zuoxiao Duo had such a mentality. But his rationality told him that if he kept it in his hands, he would not be able to use up so many high-quality resources no matter what. In the end, it would only cause most of them to be destroyed and wasted for nothing. Zuoxiao Duo understood what Qin Fengyang had said. However, there was always some resistance and reluctance in his heart. Team. What team do I have? Do I have to use this to tempt my classmates? As long as you become my subordinate, I will increase your skills and cultivation? Zuoxiao Duo knew that he wouldn't be able to do such a thing. Qin Fengyang looked at Zuoxiao's hesitation. There was a hint of amusement in his eyes, but he was also full of emotion. That's right. Everyone started from this step slowly. From being a young student to growing up to graduating to entering society to the martial arts world to the front line. Every step and every stage, one would have a realization of the current situation, the realization of life and the passage of time. But in the student years, in this still simple era, it was the foundation of everything. In this era, the more you gave, the more you would get in the future. Whether it was wealth, resources, or hard work, it was all the same. He knew very well what Swishaoduo was conflicted about. He also had countless reasons to persuade him. But after thinking for a long time, he came up with a very ordinary and simple reason. Team doesn't mean that you are a subordinate. You have to understand this. Qin Fengyang put one hand on Swishaoduo's shoulder and said softly, team is a team that will accompany you to conquer the world, to explore the world together, to face dangers together, to face temptations together. I wanted to say brothers, but now you are too far away from that, so I can only say that you are a team. Do you understand this? Swishaoduo's somewhat confused eyes slowly became clear. He bit his lips and said, yes, I understand. Well, now that this is clear, let's talk about what are resources. Qin Fengyang was very earnest. It had been a long time since he was a good teacher. Resources, what are resources? Do you think that only 100,000 pounds of meat is a resource? Or only pills, treasures of heaven and earth, jade of astral souls, are resources? Qin Fengyang said softly, wrong. Very wrong. Whether it is martial arts, business, or politics, the most important resource will always be connections. Connections. Swishaoduo read slowly, his eyes shining. You may think that you're giving it away for free, but how many people in this world are really fools? How can they not see the benefits? How can they take it with a clear conscience without any burden? Qin Fengyang patted his shoulder. On the path of martial arts, gratitude and hatred are clearly distinguished, and karma is proof. Where there is gain, there must be retribution. This is the most basic way to have peace of mind and a clear mind. The further you go, the higher your cultivation, the less you will owe others karma. Any bit of karma is also a tie. So, you give away some meat that you don't need. It may seem like you are giving it away for free now, but in the future you will reap the karma of the strong. Is it worth it? As for those who are ungrateful, they are destined not to go far. Giving those people benefits. Just treat it as feeding dogs, what's the harm? In any case, when your meat is eventually useless, even if you feed it to the dogs won't care. As the saying goes, there are gains and losses in investment, right? Why can't those narrow-minded and ungrateful people go far? Because there is a sky above your head, and a heart in your chest. On the path of martial arts there is a heart demon. Core, nascent soul, cloud control, and spirit return to mystery. Perhaps these are not very serious, but once you reach the sky soar realm, it is a moat that most martial artists can't cross. Because of the heart demon. Because you owe too much in this life. Only by transcending the mortal world can you talk about sky soar. But if you owe so much karma, how can you transcend? How can you sky soar? Every year, countless experts fly back and forth from all over the world to repay their past karma. Do you know why? They say it is for peace of mind, but in reality, they are seeking a path to sky soar without being troubled by the heart demon. Why are there always some experts who choose to hide all their cultivation before they reach the sky soar realm, mingling with the mortal world and turning into an ordinary person to gain experience? It is all because their state of mind is lacking. On the continent, if 100 returnants experts all stop at the sky soar realm, then only 1 or 2 will be able to pass this tribulation. The others will stop at the sky soar realm for hundreds or thousands of years, and even until their deaths, they still can't pass this final hurdle. The first reason is that they owe too much and can't repay it. Do you understand? Qin Fengyang looked at Swishaoduo's eyes that had turned from confusion to clarity, and he couldn't help but smile. I understand. Perfect cultivation. Don't let your state of mind be lacking. The so-called don't get involved in karma is never just a saying. Qin Fengyang gently stroked Swishaoduo's head and said in a deep voice, from another perspective, this is also for your own sake. If you let this meat rot and don't take it out, I think in the future it will cause your state of mind to be lacking. You will always be thinking about this matter, and won't be able to let it go. And this lack will be a regret that can't be made up for. Because of your selfishness when you were young, you caused tens of thousands of people to lose the opportunity to take a step forward. When you understand more, every time one of these people dies on the battlefield, you will think about it once. If I had given him the king beast meat back then, maybe he would have been stronger today and wouldn't have died. Zhuoxiao's hair stood on end, because this was a very likely thing. Qin Fengyang sighed softly. When he was explaining these things to Zhuoxiao, Qin Fengyang even felt that his own spirit was also undergoing a transformation with Zhuoxiao. Zhuoxiao's eyes lit up. I understand. After I set aside the necessary portion, I will give the rest to Principal Yi and Teacher 1, and let them distribute and operate it. Qin Fengyang reminded him, remember, it is not free. This is also important, do you understand? If you can take it in name, you must not let it go. At this point, Qin Fengyang suddenly laughed involuntarily and said, if the hidden dragon expert can't even do this, how can he be qualified to be listed as one of the top 3 experts? I'm worrying too much and thinking too much. Zhuoxiao also laughed. However, he felt that Qin Fengyang's laughter was very meaningful, and he couldn't understand it at the moment. He didn't know why Qin Fengyang suddenly laughed so wretchedly. However, he didn't know that Yi Chongqing and Wen Xingtian's spiritual power had already been paying attention to this place. Both of them heard every word that Qin Fengyang taught Zhuoxiao and couldn't help but smile bitterly at each other. The title of this chapter has been my motto for so many years. Chapter 639. When Xingtian sighed endlessly. Qin Fengyang has grasped Zhuoxiao's character too accurately, too precisely. This ideological work is simply brainwashing. I'm really ashamed of my inferiority. I don't dare to compare myself to him anymore. Yi Chongqing chuckled and said, Teacher Qin's last sentence was clearly meant for us to hear. He's using words to instruct us. If we can't earn some benefits for Zhuoxiao this time, Hidden Dragon High School can be considered done for. This Teacher Qin is really not simple. The so-called not simple. Both Yi Chongqing and Wen Xingtian's cultivation was higher than Qin Fengyang's, and it wasn't just a level higher. This also meant that Qin Fengyang definitely wouldn't notice their arrival. But Qin Fengyang had already guessed. I'm here. Hidden Dragon High School definitely won't remain indifferent. It would be strange if no one was paying attention to this place right now. Of course I'm teaching my students the principles of life, but don't think that I don't know you're here and can eavesdrop without any restraint. If you dare to take my students' things, I'll let your reputation hit the ground the same way you did it. Actually, there's something else. Zhuoxiao said somewhat embarrassedly, this time, I've also seized a lot of spatial rings. Qin Fengyang let out a carefree laugh. You can keep the spatial rings you obtained for yourself. The implication was that a little embryonic breath ant-like you actually dared to say the word seized. Just you, in a place like the Starlight Mountain Range where experts were as numerous as clouds, even if you were allowed to seize, how many could you seize? Even I didn't manage to seize many, let alone you? There's more than 1,000. Zhuoxiao said. Qin Fengyang was silent. The corner of his mouth twitched for a long time before he said, do as you see fit. The only feeling he had now was that his heart was tired, inexplicably tired. Am I too old? Can't keep up with the times? More than 1,000. Fuck. What he didn't know was that Zhuoxiao. Well, Li Chenglong hadn't finished cleaning up yet. Once all 1,000 rings were opened and sorted out, there would probably be a few hundred more. Most of the people who had come to the Starlight Mountain Range were extremely vicious and vicious characters. Killing and robbing was nothing more than a common occurrence. The number of spatial rings they had snatched from the space rings of these vicious people was definitely not a small number. Qin Fengyang was speechless for a long time. He took a sip of tea and rolled his eyes as he looked at the decorations of the villa. Motherfucker, where was I? I forgot. It was too shocking. In Yi Chongqing's villa. When Xingtian spat out a mouthful of tea, feeling an indescribable sense of schadenfreude in his heart. It felt so good. The dumbfounded look on Qin Haodong's face really makes me happy. If Qin Fengyang hadn't come, he would have been the one to be stunned. After a long while, Qin Fengyang suddenly remembered. Oh right, I have another suggestion for you. What suggestion? With so much king-level demon beast meat, even if it was supplied to the entire Hidden Dragon High School, I'm afraid it wouldn't be enough. Do you still remember when you were in the Dragon and Tiger ranking competition? Those teachers who took care of you? That Ancestral Dragon High School Ding Xiulan, that Huayong High School Mahjiangxi? That Jade Sun High School teacher Luo Yanling? And that Water City High School principal Gu Qianfan who helped you this time? These people all spread the word in this Netherworld King Palace's bounty. Whoever dares to deal with you will suffer their endless pursuit. These are also huge favors. You can't be indifferent. Rather than returning this karmic favor in the future when you're strong enough, it's better to use the king-level demon beast meat now to repay it. Huayang High School, Yuesun High School, Ancestral Dragon High School, and Yunduan High School. Water City First High School took 3,000 caddies each, so 20,000 caddies were reduced in an instant. On the other side, Yi Chongqing and Wen Xingqian were breathing rapidly. Their hearts ached so much that they couldn't speak. The veins on their foreheads were popping. So much meat was given away by this guy. And it was given to other high school martial artists. This Qing guy is too hateful. He wants the world to be in chaos, and he especially can't stand us Hidden Dragon High School. When Xingtian and Yi Chongqing clutched their chests, feeling waves of pain in their hearts. Who said we Hidden Dragon High School can't consume so much? How much is this? Yi Chongqing clutched his chest and gasped. We don't need 50,000 to 60,000 caddies. We can consume 50,000 to 600,000 caddies. We're just school students, and there are 5,000 of us. 10 caddies per person is 50,000 caddies. 20 caddies per person is 100,000 caddies. This isn't enough. This Qin Fengyang is clearly doing it on purpose. When Xingtian was fuming, of course Qin Fengyang was doing it on purpose. On one hand, it was for the good of Zuoxiao Duo. If he gave it away like this, these principals and teachers would probably owe Zuoxiao Duo a favor for the rest of their lives. This kind of karma was too great. In this way, it was equivalent to paving the way for Zuoxiao Duo to a certain extent. Yes, as long as Zuoxiao Duo didn't make too much of a fuss with this action, he could basically move unimpeded in the Yanwu Emperor country. On the other hand, when Zuoxiao Duo said that there were more than 1,000 rings, Qin Fengyang felt that he had lost his composure at that moment, and it was even more embarrassing. Although Qin Fengyang couldn't be sure if anyone was eavesdropping, but putting himself in their shoes, if he was a Hidden Dragon High School student, he would definitely come to eavesdrop. Since that's the case, doesn't that mean that they've heard everything about my humiliation and know about it? Yes, if I didn't give you some trouble, would I still keep you around? There was no other reason than to have a clear mind. In this way, when he thought about how the eavesdroppers were furious and heartbroken, he felt an inexplicable feeling. I feel a little good in my heart now. Ha 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 ha. The rings can also be dealt with in this way. The smile on Qin Fengyang's face grew even wider. The spatial rings you obtained from those bounty hunters should all be top-notch goods. Just based on this, if you were to exchange all the things in your hands for cultivation resources, then I'm afraid you'd be able to completely empty out the entire Hidden Dragon High School, turning all the students into paupers. Zuoxiao Duo coughed and said guiltily, I didn't think of that. Haha. Qin Fengyang laughed mockingly. He thought to himself, you're like a hungry ghost when you see money. Back then, in order to save some tuition fees, you even made the genius sister into having cerebral palsy. You tricked me so much that I almost took out my salary to help you out. I really want to believe what you said, but it's a pity that I can't do it. But in the end, he didn't expose him. He only said, the Hidden Dragon High School will definitely deal with this matter properly and beautifully. These words actually touched the hearts of Wen Xingtian and Yi Chongqing. This matter had to be done beautifully. Currently, there were 5,000 students in the Hidden Dragon High School, and not everyone had a spatial ring. Even if they did, the majority of them had spatial rings with extremely small contents. They were only able to store their own weapons and some necessities for cultivation and healing. Their spatial rings were already filled to the brim, and there was no excess. It must be known that the rings that Zuoxiao Duo snatched, not to mention others, which one of the people who once had these rings weren't ruthless people who wanted to rob others at any time. How could a small storage space be used? Therefore, each and every one of them had an extremely large storage space. If Zuoxiao Duo was willing to contribute it, it would be a huge windfall, a dazzling number. Yi Chongqing even thought, if we add the loot from the Hidden Dragon High School this time in the Starry Mountain range, it should be enough for the students to use. However, this still couldn't be done for free. Whether it was the student involved or the school, they had to pay a certain price. But, as for what method to use, this still needed to be considered. It was absolutely impossible to give it away for free, and it couldn't be done. This is a matter for later. At the very least, I have to take out the things in the rings and get rid of them first. Zhou Xiaoduo coughed. Speaking of getting rid of these things, you also need a considerable amount of channels, and you also need time. And you also need a considerable amount of experience. Qin Fengyang knocked on Zhou Xiaoduo's head again and said, I see that you have become stupid after coming to the Hidden Dragon High School. You only need to count the things and keep the things you need. If you don't need them, just give them to the people of the Hidden Dragon High School, and let their professionals deal with it for you. You only need to be responsible for collecting the money, right? Chapter 640. The Hidden Dragon High School has received a huge benefit from you this time, and owes you a huge favor. What if you don't even help out with this little bit of work? How stingy would you be? If you can't even handle this small matter properly, then I'll really look down on the so-called top 3 in the world. Qin Fengyang was exasperated at his student's failure to live up to his expectations. He was very anxious for his student's IQ. In Yi Chongqing's villa, when Xingtian and Yi Chongqing were eavesdropping with their divine senses from afar, they felt somewhat restless. You Qin Fengyang aren't here to look at your student. You're completely here to trample on the Hidden Dragon High School, right? You throw all the dirty and tiring work to the Hidden Dragon High School, and then you command your own student to just sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor, take the biggest share, get the biggest benefit, have the best reputation. Moreover, you don't suffer a single loss. You're really drunk. Yet, the Hidden Dragon High School still had to gladly endure the hardship, enjoy it, and even be proud of it, grateful to the point of shedding tears and engraving it in their hearts. What the hell is this? What is this? This is a great thing, a windfall from the heavens that you can't even ask for. An unparalleled opportunity. Where do you go to reason with this? No wonder Zhou Xiaoduo has this kind of character. Yi Chongqing sighed somewhat. He looked at Wen Xingtian and sighed. With such a teacher to enlighten him, and with a teacher like you to continue his studies, it's hard not to become a miser. Wen Xingtian's face darkened. He rolled his eyes and looked at Yi Chongqing, extremely speechless. Why did you bring me along? Maybe Zhou Xiaoduo's nature is like this, or maybe it's because of his family's teachings. Yi Chongqing chuckled. Why don't you take a look at yourself? Think back to when you were staring at the surging ground in the Starlight Mountains and shouting about heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Your 2 eyes were shining. How could he know that Zhou Xiaoduo's love for money and wealth really didn't come from his teacher's teachings? This was his true nature, in addition to his family's teachings. Let's go over early? When Xingtian's face darkened, he did not want to stay with Yi Chongqing any longer. It's one thing for this old thing to talk about Qin Fengyang, but to think that he would put me in the same category as him. This is intolerable. If it wasn't for the fact that we're sworn brothers, if it wasn't for the fact that I can't beat you. Humph. Zhou Xiaoduo said, Mr. Qin, why don't you eat the demonic beast meat now and take the time to cultivate? Anyway, there was still plenty of time. It would probably start at 6 o'clock at night. It's only 2:30. Qin Fengyang hesitated for a moment and said, I just broke through to the royal god realm not long ago, and I do have a lot of space to accommodate it, but will there not be enough time? I'm fine. With a whoosh, Zhou Xiaoduo pulled Qin Fengyang into the space of the Tower of Annihilation. You can cultivate in peace here. Do whatever you need to do. Don't worry. As he spoke, he threw out a large pile of high-grade jade of astral souls. Qin Fengyang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I may be poor, but I don't lack cultivation resources. Now that I have the king beast meat, I don't need these. You don't need these? Zhou Xiaoduo was puzzled. The more powerful you are, the less you need these things. Qin Fengyang smiled bitterly. Let's just talk about your spiritual meat. The effects are different for cultivators of different levels. That is to say, there are certain limitations. For example, if a profound Reem cultivator eats your king beast meat, he might not be able to benefit much. Only profound Reem cultivators who have never eaten astral beast meat before will be able to improve to a certain extent. But for profound understanding cultivators, whether they go out on missions or travel, who know how many of them have eaten astral beast meat? Do you understand now? Therefore, this spiritual flesh of yours is actually quite limited. I only need about 15 kilograms at most now to reach the limit of saturation. Qin Fengyang smiled bitterly. But it can still improve a lot and save me a lot of effort. It's just that after eating this spiritual meat, there won't be any improvement from eating king beast meat in the future. Unless it's of a higher level, for example an emperor beast. But, haha, Zhuo Xiaoduo understood. So that's how it is. This kind of thing really varies from person to person. Some people will explode after eating it, while others will be indifferent after eating it. It all depends on one's foundation, and there are also limitations like drug resistance. Zhuo Xiaoduo couldn't help but feel disappointed. No wonder those bodyguards didn't fight with me. Motherfucker, it turns out that I really picked up trash. But if I can pick up trash like this every day, I'll still be very happy. Waha. I'm not disappointed, ha ha ha. I'm not disappointed. Looking at this space, Qin Fengyang was deep in thought. He said, I've long heard that Principal Yi has one of the few remaining annihilation towers in this world, but I didn't expect him to give it to you so generously. Well, I don't know if it's a blessing or a misfortune that this tower suits you. Zhuo Xiaoduo scratched his head and giggled. He lent it to me temporarily, haha. Qin Fengyang snorted and knocked on Zhuo Xiaoduo's head a few more times as if he was addicted. He said, why are you giggling? Anything good that falls into your hands will change. You brat. He saw the ley line as soon as he came in. Qin Fengyang knew clearly about the legend of the Annihilation Tower. After all, he was also a member of the military and had heard the whole story. But because he knew, he naturally felt that something was wrong. There was something wrong with the Annihilation Tower, but he didn't know the source of it. Was it Yi Chongqing or Zhuo Xiaoduo? It was probably Zhuo Xiaoduo. Zhuo Xiaoduo continued to giggle and touch his head. Don't let others know. After me, it's best not to bring anyone into the Annihilation Tower, especially strangers. Qin Fengyang's face became very serious. Teacher Qin, it's okay. Zhuo Xiaoduo was still giggling. Qin Fengyang probably knew more about his secret than Li Chenglong or even Zhuo Xiaonian. Moreover, Qin Fengyang had always been tight-lipped. He had never revealed anything. In this world, in terms of trust, other than his parents and Yan Yan Cat, Qin Fengyang was second to none. He was irreplaceable. Zhuo Xiaoduo was absolutely assured. No exceptions. Qin Fengyang reminded again. If you meet a supreme divine power that you can trust, remember to modify this tower to the type that can recognize its owner. Otherwise, Qin Fengyang looked at him meaningfully. Xiaoduo, trust also depends on the specific value. He said this sentence very seriously. Qin Fengyang really had no desires in this world, but he felt that others might not be like him. As for Zhuo Xiaoduo, although he was deceitful and had many tricks up his sleeve, it was undeniable that his heart was pure and kind. What Qin Fengyang was most worried about was that someone would pollute or tarnish this purity. And with Zhuo Xiaoduo's character, once he was hit by a blow of trust, he would probably go to the extreme. This was what Qin Fengyang was most worried about. He had never forgotten about Zhuo Xiaoduo's thorough evaluation of him. Heterodox heart. So this time he kept beating around the bush, reminding him in person, and giving him a stern warning. In short, he used all kinds of methods and really put in a lot of effort. Because trust and true love, these two most beautiful emotions in the world, were the most vulnerable to blows. Once they were broken, they would no longer be there and would never be repaired. Qin Fengyang was left to cultivate inside. Zhuo Xiaoduo left the Annihilation Tower alone. He held his chin and pondered. If he found someone to modify the Annihilation Tower into the type that recognized its owner, if he really wanted to do this, he had to ask for Principal Ye's permission. Because this was a gift from him to use, he still had the right to take it back. So Zhuo Xiaoduo thought about a lot of things. He understood Yi Chongqing's meaning. Although Yi Chongqing said that he was temporarily letting him use it, in fact it was no different from giving it to him. If Yi Chongqing wanted to take it back from Zhuo Xiaoduo in the future, would the principal still have any face left? Therefore, this point can be confirmed. Although this was the truth on the surface, it was still a temporary loan. He could use it, but if he wanted to make it recognize its owner and completely private, it was not appropriate. Swishaoduo still understood the ways of the world. Swishaoduo began to jump over to Grandma Sher's side to flatter her. After all, for tonight's banquet, Swishaoduo really did not have the experience to take care of everything by himself, but Grandma Sher was an expert in this aspect. Grandma Sher's face was cold as she minded her own business. She did not care about Swishaoduo licking her face and wagging his tail to please her. Humph! From the beginning, this old lady knew that this was the work that you, little monkey, found for me. But why didn't you say so earlier? You delayed until now to ask for it. What were you doing earlier? Later on, Swishaoduo began to beg. Looking at this wronged puppy's watery and cute pleading eyes, Grandma Sher was very merciful. I'll help you. Swishaoduo immediately became overjoyed. I knew Grandma Sher was the best. Haha. He quickly went forward to massage Grandma Sher's shoulders and helped the old lady to clean up the dishes for dinner. When the whole kitchen was in a mess, he was kicked out by Grandma Sher. Get out! You're causing trouble. Swishaoduo slipped out with his tail between his legs. He could not help but jump high. Today there were not many people, right? Until 5 o'clock, Qin Fangyang still did not come out. But Vice Principal Gao was the first to come with his wife. They even brought a generous gift. Mrs. Gao hugged Swishaoduo and said a lot of affectionate words. As for words of gratitude, the couple did not say a word. For this kind of thing, any words of gratitude were so weak. Friendship was not about words, but about how to put it into action in the future. No matter how beautiful the words were, it was not enough to express it. But at this moment, Mrs. Gao looked at Swishaoduo as if she was looking at her own son. She could not wait to hug him in her arms and go home. It was really affectionate. In a few days our family will leave. Mrs. Gao held Swishaoduo's hand, her eyes red. Xiaoduo, you must remember Auntie. If you have time, come to Shui City First High School to visit us. But Grandma Sher, who was of the same age, had wrinkled skin and white hair. Her face was full of vicissitudes. Back then, Yu Jiaren's stunning appearance was the best in Hidden Dragon High Martial School. He couldn't help but feel sour in his heart. In this world, things didn't go your way. Then Vice Principal Zhan arrived. Swishaoduo smiled as he brewed tea, busying himself as a competent waiter. He was polite, well-behaved, and cute. He had a simple, honest, and bashful smile on his face. These vice principals didn't have much contact with Swishaoduo in the past. Now that they were close to him, their first impression of him was really good. The vice principals looked at him with admiration in their eyes. Everyone felt that this student was really good. He had delicate features, well-behaved, and sensible. One look and they could tell that he was a good kid. When Xingtian and Yi Chongqing hadn't arrived yet, and no one exposed this guy's true colors, they let him act to his heart's content. If Qin Fangyang, who knew him best, was here, he would naturally know that this guy was definitely harboring a bag of thoughts and was ready to take advantage of others. Swishaoduo was busy, attentive. He was all smiles from the beginning. His tea was always filled to the brim. He drank a mouthful and continued to pour more. He waited on the side respectfully and listened to the vice principal's chat. Although he had his own thoughts, Swishaoduo was still very attentive as he listened to the vice principal's chat. These people were all experienced in the martial world. Their words and actions were just right. Even if they were joking, they were full of knowledge. They definitely wouldn't speak carelessly like young people. The atmosphere of the entire conversation was controlled in a very harmonious and comfortable atmosphere. This atmosphere made everyone feel very comfortable. No one would feel that they were left out. If someone didn't say a few words, there would be a topic to talk about immediately. With that person as the center of the conversation, the topic would move on to the next topic without leaving a trace. Swishaoduo only listened. He didn't participate, but he still felt very comfortable. He didn't feel any hypocrisy. Naturally, he didn't feel awkward. It was very harmonious from the beginning to the end. Yes, it was very harmonious. Everyone was familiar with the topic. Zhuo couldn't help but exclaim in his heart. This was experience, this was the way of the world. How long would it take for him to be like them, to be able to handle any situation with ease? But was this good or not? 5:40. Zhuo found an excuse to go to the bathroom. He went upstairs and entered the Tower of Destruction. He saw that Qin Fengyang had finished cultivating. In the strange space of the Tower of Destruction, Qin Fengyang ate 25 kilograms of Beast King meat in one go. Such a strong supply of spiritual energy had improved his cultivation from the early stage of the God-reigning realm to the middle stage of the God-reigning realm. But the astral beast meat, even the Beast King level astral beast meat, was only so effective for him in this life. As he said, even if he ate 10,000 kilograms of Beast King level astral beast meat in the future, it wouldn't be of any use. He would only be able to fill his stomach. However, this time, he still managed to advance his cultivation by a large margin. Seeing Qin Fengyang come out, Vice Principal Gao, Vice Principal Cheng, and the others all stood up at once. I had an epiphany just now. I couldn't control the fluctuation of spiritual energy, so I cultivated for a while. I'm sorry. Qin Fengyang apologized right away. His attitude was very sincere. Everyone said that he didn't need to be so polite. Just make yourself at home. They clustered around Qin Fengyang and sat down. Everyone started chatting again. The conversation was even more lively than before. Qin Fengyang was in the position of being the moon surrounded by stars. But he was neither servile nor overbearing. He responded with ease and calmness. Everyone was brought into the conversation, and the atmosphere was harmonious to the extreme. 6 o'clock. When Li Chenglong came back from school, the main event had finally begun. Xiang Quangren, Wen Xingtian, and Yi Chongqing, these three hidden dragon big shots, entered the door together. After another round of greetings, Zhuo's legs and stomach went numb. It was as if they were blowing each other to the heavens. What's more, even Zhuo could tell that Wen Xingtian's outfit today was very solemn. It was even more important than Qin Fengyang's outfit. Yi Chongqing was in a formal suit. His hair was neatly combed, and he looked very elegant. That kind of scholarly temperament was vividly displayed. When people saw him, they couldn't help but feel that Principal Yi was really a good person. This was probably the kind of impression they would get. Xiang Chong, Xiang Bing, Li Cheng, and Zhuo. These four juniors naturally became the glorious plate bearers. Yes, they were servants who specialized in carrying plates, pouring wine, and pouring tea for the banquet. It was obvious that Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing were a little nervous. In Xiang Quangren's words, were chatting together, and you juniors still want to eat at the table? It's your fortune to be willing to be served by them. From this sentence, it was obvious that this old guy was old-fashioned. Mrs. Gao and Mrs. Liu went to the kitchen to prepare the dishes with Grandma Sher. The big round table was placed on the table. More than a dozen chairs were neatly arranged around it. Yi Chongqing was naturally the main host, and Qin Fengyang was naturally the guest of honor. Vice Principal Gao was about to leave Hidden Dragon University to take up the position, so he sat in the position of the deputy guest of honor. Then Xiang Quangren was the deputy host, and Wen Xingtian sat next to Qin Fengyang. The third host. Yes, Zhuo and Li Chenglong were together, so it was convenient for them to communicate. Vice Principal Cheng was the fourth host, and Vice Principal Liu was the last to sit. The dishes were served like flowing water, and the fragrance of wine permeated the air. Everyone took their seats and continued to sit upright, chatting and laughing merrily. It wasn't until the sixth dish was served that Yi Chongqing laughed and invited Qin Fengyang to eat. Qin Fengyang agreed with a smile. Although his face was still expressionless, he felt honored in his heart. This was already the highest etiquette at the dining table. In formal dining occasions, 1, 2, or even 3 dishes were usually not touched. 1 dish was too lonely, 2 dishes were too few. 3 dishes were exclusive to worship, and they were called celestial dishes. Only when all 4 dishes were served could one move their chopsticks. This was also the so-called congratulations. When it came to the 5th dish, because it was an odd number, one could not move their chopsticks. But when it came to the 6th dish, it was really important. Eat together, brothers, eat together. Then it was time to drink. First, Yi Chongqing gave a welcoming speech. Everyone drank a cup together, and the seventh dish was served. Xiang Kuangren gave a speech, drank another cup, and the eighth dish was served. Qin Fangyang returned the toast, and the 10th dish was served. When Xingtian took a cup, and the 11th dish was served. The vice principals each took a cup. There were 16 dishes on the table. The kitchen temporarily stopped work, and all the dishes were cut and waiting to be put into the pot. This was the first round of dishes. For such a grand banquet, the dishes had to be served in 3 rounds. The atmosphere at the table became more and more lively, but it was still limited to the strange stories of the martial world, or the memories of the military, etc. This was to find a common topic among everyone. After a long while, after a burst of laughter, Yi Chongqing changed the topic to the students. I have to say, the results of the Dragon and Tiger ranking competition last time were very surprising. Phoenix City's second high school suddenly emerged, and it was strong. It was outstanding and shocked the world and made us look at it in a new light. But when we really understood the teachers of Phoenix City's second high school, there was only admiration for such results, and no longer surprise. Because if the students who were taught with such painstaking effort were still not successful, that would be a surprise. Teacher Qin, and the teachers of Phoenix City's second high school. Everyone has worked hard. Yi Chongqing sighed and raised his cup. If all the teachers in the continent could be like Phoenix City's second high school, a mere UMNO alliance would be nothing. Especially the old principal, He Yuanyue, who has students all over the world, and is worthy of all the teachers' respect. Qin Fangyang's expression froze for a moment, and a trace of extreme pain flashed in his eyes. He raised his cup and drank it in one gulp. Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong were puzzled. Yi Chongqing obviously knew about Qin Fangyang's past, but why did he deliberately mention it now? Principal Yi was not the kind of person who would deliberately expose people's scars, so why did he deliberately mention the old principal now? Looking for monthly recommendation and subscription. Chapter 642. Everyone was puzzled. Yi Chongqing changed the topic and talked about another matter, speaking of which, there's something I've always felt strange. Back then, who still remembers the legendary white-haired celestial immortal? When Xingtian was moved and said, "Is it the female general with the highest position in the East Army, the white-haired fairy Shan Xiaoru?" "That's right, it's her." Yi Chongqing said, "There are a lot of things that you don't know. It's a little disrespectful to talk about General Shan, but her story is worth talking about." Qin Fangyang frowned and said, "I'd like to hear the details." Back then, the white-haired fairy was a flower in the army. She was beautiful and had a heavenly fragrance. Her hair hadn't turned white yet, and she was a couple with Qi Changsheng, the #1 vanguard in the East Army. The two of them agreed that they would get married after defeating the great shaman of the Wind Emperor, and tie the knot forever. That battle was really earth-shattering. The troops from the left and right advanced at the same time. The left was ambushed by the UMNO alliance and was in danger. Qi Changsheng immediately led his troops to help, but he met the Wind Emperor. Qi Changsheng took the lead and fought Wind Monarch head-on. His corporeal body was shattered by Wind Monarch, and his divine soul drifted away. If it wasn't for Deputy General Wei Zhongyuan, who risked his life to snatch him back and handed him over to the army to retreat, his divine soul would have perished on the spot and he would be consigned to eternal damnation. However, after that, Wei Zhongyuan brought his 36 personal guards to stop Wind Monarch's great shamans, and they all exploded and died. After Qi Changsheng returned, although Commander Dongfang tried his best to save him, he still died. It was that battle that made Commander Dongfang furious and swore to take revenge. He set up layers of traps to kill the Wind Emperor. With 30,000 troops as bait, the two generals conspired and 400,000 elite troops ambushed. The king of Zhualu held the fort and was determined to kill the Wind Emperor in one fell swoop. After this plan, the Wind Emperor was finally trapped in the formation. The army started to attack. It was also that time that we met the flood, which tore the space from tens of thousands of miles away to help the Wind Emperor. She sent us back to Hidden Dragon. Until today. Yi Chongqing sighed faintly. The attack that day, the flood which was in a hurry to save the Wind Emperor. She didn't have the slightest hesitation. Otherwise, you and I would have been turned into dust. How could we have lived for so many days? That battle was ultimately a failure. The Wind Emperor was saved by the flood, but his weapon, the Wind Blade, was defeated. After Qi Chongqing's death, Shan Xiaoru, her heart was and her hair turned white overnight. Marshal Dongfang and the King of Zhuelu felt her true feelings and joined hands to go to the UMNO alliance when Qi Chongqing was buried. They returned the Wind Emperor's weapon as the price and exchanged it for a 10,000-year-old red spider lily from the great witch Dan Kong. They took the red spider lily and buried it with the red spider lily. They also asked the masters of the Tao League to set up the 3 lives reincarnation formation to calm her down. At this point, everyone suddenly thought of something. They quivered and suddenly became alert. Even Qin Fengyang's eyes were shining. He faintly guessed the reason why Yi Chongqing talked about this story, but he couldn't believe it. Yi Chongqing smiled bitterly. At that time we said to calm her down. Because of this, Heavenly King Zhua and Marshal Dongfang didn't have any confidence. They just had to leave some hope. Since then, Shan Xiaoru, with her white hair, fought in the battle for a long time and won the title of White Hair Fairy. Because that fairy-like figure with a head full of white hair has become the East Army's signature. After this, 18 years later, a young man, who was only in the inner core realm, disregarded everything and crossed thousands of miles of mountains to find the East Army camp of the Sun Moon Pass. This youth claims to be Thousand-Edged Sword Qi Chongqing. Furthermore, he knows all the old brothers in the army and knows their names. He even knows many secrets that outsiders don't know. After being verified by Marshal Dongfang and the Heavenly King of the Left, as well as repeated investigations by white-haired celestial immortal Shan Xiaoru, we're certain that this person is the reincarnation of Thousand-Edged Sword, Qi Chongqing. Fuck. This sentence was not said by the principals, but by Xiang Chong, who was standing at the side and holding a plate. He blurted it out in shock. Xiang Quangren was furious. He thought that his great-grandson had embarrassed himself by swearing. However, he couldn't lose his temper in front of an important guest. He could only stare at his great-grandson like a knife and kill him over and over again. Fuck you. How dare you swear? You've really embarrassed me. Fuck you. Uneducated. Xiang Chong was as quiet as a cicada in winter. He shivered like a quail in the cold wind. Qin Fengyang took a deep breath and his eyes suddenly shone with unprecedented brilliance. He really didn't know about this matter. This matter had happened too long ago. Although Qin Fengyang had been in the army for many years, he didn't know about this story. However, not knowing wasn't the main point. When Qin Fengyang heard about it, a sudden hope rose in his heart. The hope of meeting his lover again. If they could meet again, the person waiting for him wouldn't be He Yuanyue, but Lu Qianqian. And this young man is also gradually growing. His cultivation is advancing by leaps and bounds because he has the complete cultivation memory of Qi Chongqing. Today he has already married the white-haired heavenly fairy, Shan Xiaoru, and fulfilled the unfulfilled promise of the past. The husband and wife are working together in the Eastern Army. I believe all of you are familiar with his name. The number 1 genius in the East Army. Yi Chongqing looked at everyone with a smile. Xiang Quangren, Wen Xingqian, and Qin Fengyang suddenly trembled and blurted out, "Young master of the invincible blade, Tai Mingru?" Xiang Quangren and Wen Xingqian said, "Young master of the invincible blade, Tai Mingru?" Qin Fengyang said, "Invincible blade general Tai Mingru?" However, there was no doubt that they were talking about the same person. Yi Chongqing smiled and said, "Yes, it's him. Because this matter is extremely secretive and involves the transaction with the UMNO alliance, not many people know about it." Commander Dongfang even issued a gag order. However, the marriage between the white-hair fairy, Shan Xiaoru, and the young master of the invincible blade, Tai Mingru, is a matter that is beyond doubt. Qin Fengyang took a deep breath. His face suddenly turned red. For a moment he even felt a little dizzy. He stuttered, "Principal. Principal Yi. What do you mean?" Yi Chongqing smiled and said, "Teacher Qin, I heard that after Principal he passed away, There were experts who made arrangements. At least in my opinion, the day when you and your wife reunite is not hopeless. Qin Fengyang grabbed Yi Changqing's hand and his breathing became more rapid. His eyes were red and his Adam's apple moved up and down. After a long time he suddenly stood up and picked up a glass of wine. He said softly, but with extreme gratitude, "Principal Yi, I propose a toast to you." The real meaning of Yi Changqing's words was naturally to comfort Qin Fengyang. However, it also revealed that Yi Changqing had already understood every detail of what happened in Phoenix City back then. Yi Changqing stood up, clinked his wine cup, and drained it in one gulp. Then he said softly, "We all hope that this will happen. Although there are examples of this before, we can't be sure until it actually happens. But this hope is really big." Qin Fengyang took a deep breath and said, "I understand. I won't give up." As he said that, he took a deep look at Zhou Xiaoduo. His eyes were full of gratitude. Zhou Xiaoduo was looking at Yi Changqing. His eyes were also full of gratitude. Although Qin Fengyang had dressed up for today's meeting, his aura couldn't lie. It was a kind of calm, so calm that it was like a dead silence. Determined to die. Nothing left to live for. However, Yi Changqing's words caused an obvious change in Qin Fengyang's aura. The so-called heart disease must be cured by heart medicine. It wasn't just a saying. If it was just the preparations that Zhou Xiaoduo had mentioned, Qin Fengyang might not have believed it. Even if there was hope, it was extremely slim. However, today Yi Changqing had thrown out a real-life example. He could see it and touch it. It was a real example that existed. The two people involved were still alive. They were in the Dongfang army. They could be found. This was an unparalleled encouragement for Qin Fengyang. For the first time he thought from the bottom of his heart, "I can't die. I have to wait for Qianqian to come to me. Before she comes to me, I can't die no matter what." This kind of thinking, this kind of willpower to live was a completely different concept from the muddle-headed life he had before. His whole person instantly became alive. To put it bluntly, he was full of vitality. Ever since the old principal passed away, Zhou Xiaoduo was most worried about Qin Fengyang's mentality. Now that he saw such a pitiful change, how could he not be overjoyed and ecstatic? The atmosphere at the dining table changed a lot after this conversation. It was much more harmonious. When Xingtian took the opportunity to speak, he pointed at Zhou Xiaoduo and chuckled. "Teacher Qin, this student of yours is not bad. He has good qualifications and is excellent in all aspects. However, I still want to ask you something. His stubbornness. How did you train him in the past?" When he heard this, Qin Fengyang couldn't help but laugh. Zhou Xiaoduo suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Alarm bells rang in his heart. In that instant he felt a strong sense of malice. Hence, before Qin Fengyang could speak, Zhou Xiaoduo hurriedly interjected, "Speaking of Teacher Qin's teachings in the past, I'm so grateful that I haven't forgotten a single day." He sighed emotionally and said with infinite gratitude, "Teacher Qin treated me with emotion and reason. He never beat or scolded me. He was kind and amiable. He convinced people with reason. He was a model teacher and a role model. He could be a role model for other teachers. That's why I could grow up to be so outstanding. I'm a talent among people. I'm the best choice." As he spoke, he winked at Qin Fengyang. "Teacher Qin, you must cooperate." Li Chenglong couldn't hold it in. He turned around and vomited. All the principals had strange expressions on their faces. It was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. For a moment there was an awkward silence. Qin Fengyang laughed and said, "This child is smart, kind, honest, and has good qualifications. He can endure hardships and is willing to take risks. He's loyal. However, he has a lot of problems. As for how to train his stubbornness," when Xingtian's eyes shone, "What do you think?" Qin Fengyang coughed and couldn't help but laugh. "My experience is only one word." Chapter 643. When Xingtian understood and asked deliberately, "Which word?" Zhou Xiaoduo coughed repeatedly, his eyes darting everywhere. Qin Fengyang ignored Zhou Xiaoduo's behavior. He held back his laughter and said sternly, Beat him up. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed heartily again. Qin Fangyang added, if there are 4 words to describe, it would be, beat him up. I used to beat him up 8 times a day. That seems to be the minimum. Qin Fangyang sighed. Back in Phoenix City's number 2 high school, this guy was like a shuttlecock. When it was serious, I could kick him from morning till night without letting him touch the ground. After I discovered this, his improvement was especially great. He's almost become a scene in our number 2 high school. Li Chenglong, is that what you said? Li Chenglong sighed. But every time teacher Qin beat him up, his strength would increase by a notch. Then he would come and beat us up. Sometimes, a few of us even suspect that Zwa has a special physique that can increase his cultivation by taking a beating. Ha 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 ha. Everyone burst into laughter, and the hall was filled with laughter. Zwa Xiaoduo glared at Li Chenglong fiercely, gnashing his teeth in exasperation. Just you wait. Just you wait, just you wait. Let's not talk about whether I have such a physique, but I know you definitely do. Don't worry, swollen. I'll beat you until you fly into the sky. When Xingtian laughed so hard that he spat out his wine and coughed repeatedly. So that's how it is. Seems that my method is not wrong. It's just that it's too conservative and the strength is still a little too weak. Zwa Xiaoduo's face contorted and he made a final effort. Teacher Qin, I'm so obedient and cute. How can I be that kind of person? You're actually talking about Li Chenglong, right? As he spoke, he desperately winked at Qin Fangyang. Quickly change your words, quickly change your words. Quickly say that you're talking about Li Chenglong. It's him. If there's a problem, I'll take care of it. It's him. If when Xingtian uses the same method, I won't be able to live in the future, I'm going to be beaten to death. It was better to let teacher Wen beat up Li Chenglong. Li Chenglong shook his head repeatedly. It wasn't me. It's not me. Qin Fangyang took a sip of wine and said with a smile, actually these 2 guys have the same illness. They both feel uncomfortable if they don't get beaten up. But Li Chenglong's symptoms are slightly better. As for Zwa Xiaoduo, after pondering for a moment he said, it's the kind that is beyond cure. There's no harm in increasing the dose. When Xingtian laughed heartily, I understand now, I understand everything now. Since that's the case, then I'll start implementing teacher Qin's method from now on. Look at Xiaoduo's performance. It's proof that teacher Qin's method is effective. It's still fresh in my memory. It's deeply engraved in my bones. As he said that, he glanced at Zwa Xiaoduo, who was dumbstruck and looked as if he had lost his parents. His eyes revealed a message, kid, just you wait. We'll settle our accounts soon. Zwa Xiaoduo suddenly felt that there was nothing left to live for. There was no way he could continue living like this. As the cups clinked, the atmosphere became more and more lively. The first round of dishes was taken away. The second round was served. Then, Grandma Sher and the other female guests began to take their seats. When the second round of dishes was served, Xiang Kuangren laughed heartily and said, today is really enjoyable. I haven't had such a good drink in a long time. Xiao Chong, Xiao Bing, didn't you have something to discuss with Li Chenglong? Go, you 3 young people go and have fun. This sentence was very interesting. Xiang Chong, Xiang Bing, Li Chenglong, the 3 young people went to have fun. However, they did not mention Zwa Xiaoduo. This designation was stronger and more conspicuous. Was Zwa Xiaoduo not a young person? This was clearly a differential treatment. Next, Vice Principal Gao ate a few more mouthfuls. After a toast, he was the first to say goodbye. He said that he had something to do and could not wait to leave. It would be too late if he did not leave. Before leaving, he toasted Qin Fangyang 3 more times before leaving with his wife. Everyone tried to persuade him to stay for a while, but Vice Principal Gao was very determined to leave. As for what he had to do, everyone knew in their hearts. Vice Principal Gao also knew in his heart. After all, he was still a suspect. Moreover, he was about to be transferred. After 2 rounds of dishes, he would be an outsider. Moreover, although Xiang Kuangren's sentence was directed at Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing, it was also a signal to him. Vice Principal Gao, who was no longer blinded by power, understood very well. As for why Vice Principal Xiang asked Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing to come, the main purpose was that they would work for a while. Then when the time was right, he would ask them to leave and act as a prop for them to leave. It was enough to give others a hint. This made Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing, who had completely understood their own value, feel very tired. It turned out that the two of them were only of this use. One sentence and it was over. Little did they know that Xiang Quangren was also depressed in his heart. Ever since we became sworn brothers many years ago, I've always been the one to offend people, whether it's in the military or in school. I fucking became sworn brothers with you guys so that I could do bad things and offend people. What the fuck is this? Xiang Quangren squinted at these people very discontentedly. Although I look like a bandit, I can't be used like this. My heart is actually still very pure at this kind of dirty and tiring work. Can't I get someone else next time? Do you really think I'm a tool? Yi Chongqing, Wen Xingtian, Lu Chengzhan, and the others did not change their expressions. They directly ignored his gaze and chatted enthusiastically with Qin Fangyang. We didn't see it. What the fuck? Xiang Quangren raised his bowl and drank a big bowl of wine. He frowned and pondered. When looking for wives in the next generation, he must find a few petite ones to improve the family's genes. Otherwise, in the future, his children would definitely be born with a scapegoat like him. But when he thought of the wife that he had just chosen for Xiang Chong, he could not help but drink another bowl of wine. That girl from the Zhan family seems to be even stronger than me. How can this genetic problem be fixed? Sigh. Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing did not know what their great-grandfather was thinking. They only saw two big eyes rolling around and felt a chill in their hearts. Too fierce. They hurriedly stood up and called Li Chenglong out. At this time there were really no outsiders at the table. Yi Chongqing, Xiang Quangren, Wen Xingtian, Vice Headmaster Lu, Vice Headmaster Chang, Vice Headmaster Zhan, and Grandma Shi. Other than them, there was only Zhuo Xiaoduo and Qin Fangyang. Qin Fangyang was still full of smiles, but his heart was as clear as snow. This bunch of people really did eavesdrop. Vice Headmaster Yi, in your opinion, how should we deal with Zhuo Xiaoduo's meet and ring? Qin Fangyang did not hesitate and went straight to the point. He did not ask how they knew. That's because everyone understood, so there was no need to explain anything about coincidence, cautiousness, or coincidence. What he meant was, you people from Hidden Dragon Academy eavesdropped on my conversation with my students. This was the truth. Cough, 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 cough. Xingtian, you heard this. You say it. Yi Chongqing coughed dryly. He looked at Wen Xingtian from the corner of his eyes. You eavesdropped, I didn't. Your students, you say it. Wen Xingtian almost wanted to leave the banquet. I was fucking competing with others on how to be a teacher in charge. You fucking threw me into this shameful accusation of eavesdropping. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being unrighteous. While everyone was holding back their laughter, Wen Xingtian cleared his throat and smiled. I'm ashamed to say that Vice Headmaster Yi was idle at home this afternoon. He did not intentionally eavesdrop on Brother Qin and Xiao Duo's conversation. However, he was really too close. His cultivation is too high, and there are some things that need to be grasped. Brother Qin, you can understand. It wasn't me. I'm not taking the blame. It was Yi Chongqing who eavesdropped. Qin Fangyang held back his laughter. Yes. Vice Headmaster, yes, cultivation is profound. We can't catch up to you. Yi Chongqing immediately choked on his anger. Wen Xingtian, you're really something. I let you take the blame, but you turned around and directly sold me out? So you didn't eavesdrop? This is equivalent to two armies fighting. I waved my hand at the vanguard and said, you go. Then the vanguard turned around and threw me, the commander, to the enemy. What's there to fight? Wen Xingtian, you're really something. You're really something. You're really something. You Qin Fangyang. I just untied the knot in your heart. You repay me, your great benefactor? You can't catch up? You can't catch up. Do you think we can't tell if you're praising or insulting us? Yi Chongqing swore in his heart. Although his face was red, he still had to put on an apologetic expression. However, he still had to put on an expression that was somewhat apologetic. I'm suffocating. I've been framed for so many years, but I've never been so sullen. However, since the words had already been spoken, Wen Xingtian had no choice but to let the cat out of the bag. He no longer had any scruples. He had already offended him. Then he might as well continue. There was not much difference between offending him 10 times and offending him 100 times. After knowing about this, Principal Yi came to me specifically to discuss this matter. When Xingtian's face was not red nor was he out of breath. He ignored Yi Chongqing's sharp gaze and said fearlessly, "Speaking of which, I'm not afraid of being laughed at by Teacher Qin. I, Wen Xingtian, am not trying to show off." At that time, I told Principal Yi that the students have such intentions, but we must not let them down. At that time, Principal Yi was thinking, "Cough cough, let's not talk about that. However, Teacher Qin, don't worry. Our Hidden Dragon High School will never do something as shameless as using the students' wealth as the school's welfare. With me, Wen Xingtian, that despicable Principal Yi. Cough cough cough, that's impossible." Xiang Quangren coughed and took a big gulp of wine. However, he choked and covered his mouth while coughing. Vice Principal Chung lowered his head and seemed to be studying the drumstick in front of him. Why was it eaten so cleanly? Vice Principal Liu raised his head and looked at the chandelier. The chandelier was so colorful today. Why didn't he notice it before? Vice Principal Zhan looked at Wen Xingtian with eyes full of admiration. "You're awesome, Wen Xingtian. Speaking of which, I've never been impressed by you in my life, but today I'm impressed. I'm sincerely impressed." Grandma Sher lowered her head, her shoulders twitching. Vice Principal Liu's and Vice Principal Cheng's wives were smiling, holding hands and studying each other's fingers. Yi Chongqing panted and stared at Wen Xingtian murderously. He secretly circulated his luck in his heart. Wen Xingtian, when Qin Fongyang leaves, I'll let you celebrate the new year. Start cleaning and preparing for the meeting. Chapter 644. Yi Chongqing was so angry that he became muddled. I was sold out by my little brother today, and I was fucking sold out thoroughly. Not only was I sold out, but I was also covered in shit before selling it. I still have to suffer in silence, suffer losses all the way to the end. There's no one else who can be a boss like me. But at this time he couldn't refute or teach him a lesson. Otherwise, wouldn't Teacher Qin Fongyang see him as a joke? Since he had already said the most difficult thing to say, Wen Xingtian became more and more familiar with it, and spoke without thinking. "Teacher Qin, what do you think of this plan I suggest?" Wen Xingtian took all the credit for Yi Chongqing's contribution to himself without holding back. As for what a boss is, isn't a boss used to take the blame? Do you think it's so easy to be a boss? If you don't take the blame for your brothers, why should your brothers recognize you as their boss? This principle is also said everywhere in the world. With this thought, Wen Xingtian suddenly felt that he was in the right. Let's think about it. We'll open all of these resources to the students at 1/10 of the market price. Therefore, we won't keep a single cent of the wealth obtained, and we'll give it all to Xiao Duo. Moreover, we'll publicize this matter in the school, saying that this is a treasure that Xiao Duo accidentally found in the Starlight Mountain range. Because he's selfless, noble and pure, we decided to sell it cheaply, just to raise everyone's cultivation. On the other hand, we'll try to create a student leader. Wen Xingtian's words made Qin Fongyang's eyes light up. The main reason why we set the price at 1/10 of the market price is not to amass wealth, but once something is obtained without sowing, it's hard to show its value. Therefore, students who are interested must use the corresponding wealth to exchange for it, and can also use credits to exchange. The school will also convert the credits into the corresponding wealth, resources, and even money, and give it back to Xiao Duo. Wen Xingtian said in one breath, as for everything else, if it's inconvenient for students Xiao Duo or if he doesn't have the means to deal with it, our Hidden Dragon High School will take care of it. In short, we won't let students Xiao Duo suffer. As for the higher tier ones, the school is planning to hold an auction, and the highest bidder will win. As for the rest, if anything unexpected happens, follow this plan. I was the one who proposed this plan. Principal Yi was convinced by me, and now we have reached a consensus. Wen Xingtian spoke frankly and with assurance, speaking with certainty. Especially that sentence, Principal Yi has been convinced by me. It really made people's imagination run wild. Yi Chongqing choked on a meatball on the spot. Yi Chongqing, who had originally planned to turn his grief and anger into appetite, glared at Wen Xingtian again. You're making it sound like I've done something extremely heinous? Are you done slandering me? Wen Xingtian said apologetically, I'm done slandering you. Principal, you can say whatever you want to say now. As long as you have the ability to slander me back, I absolutely have no objections. Yi Chongqing expressed that he was mentally exhausted. You've already said so much. I've already been nailed to the pillar of shame. How can I slander you back? Don't you know that it's hard to take back what's spilled? The more you slander it, the dirtier it gets? Wen Xingtian, I'll remember you. You must also remember what happened today. In the future, don't blame it on things that don't happen for no reason. Wen Xingtian said, in addition, our Hidden Dragon High School will award students with Xiaoduo an additional 1 million credits. Teacher Qin, what do you think? Yi Chongqing's eyes widened. However, they neglected the fact that this kid was so hardworking because he was afraid of death and danger. He wanted to avoid these as much as possible. And the best way to avoid danger and death was to surpass it with tyrannical strength. However, no matter how strong his foundation was, no matter how strong he wanted it to be, no matter how strong his accumulation was, he would still be worried that he didn't have enough trump cards. He would only hate that his wallet wasn't thick enough. He would only feel that this world was full of danger. People like us should sleep at home wrapped in blankets. We should practice until we're invincible. Then we can sleep at home wrapped in blankets. This is the safest. When we need a sense of achievement, we can wear godly equipment and go to the newbie village to show off. Isn't that fun too? The simplest and most direct way is to send him out to do more missions. Qin Fengyang coughed and said, the more missions that others can't complete, such as elixirs that can't be found, resources that can't be found, and so on. This kid might be able to bring back a surprise for you. This kind of surprise has happened more than once or twice. Xiaoduo screamed miserably, Teacher Qin. Qin Fengyang laughed and said, Okay, let's not talk about it. If we continue, this kid will get angry. I'm scared that he'll hate me. I'm really scared. Xiaoduo became more and more resentful. You've already said everything, okay? What else can I say if I continue? There's nothing wrong with it. If I continue, I guess there's nothing else to say other than praise me. Humph. Sure enough, teachers are all pig trotters. To think that I thought you'd be on my side unconditionally and spoil me for life, so it was an illusion. At this point, they had basically finished discussing everything. All that was left was to drink to their heart's content. However, Qin Fengyang remembered something and raised his glass to Yi Chongqing. Principal Yi, speaking of which, your generosity is what I admire the most. Yi Chongqing was confused. Oh, me? Generosity? He thought about it in his mind. Where did this come from? Qin Fengyang said with a smile, I heard from Xiaoduo that you even lent him a divine item like the Void Extermination Pagoda. Qin Fengyang emphasized the word, lent. Yi Chongqing blushed at once. He understood what Qin Fengyang was trying to say. Qin Fengyang had given them a top-grade astral soul jade, and made a great contribution to the school. He had even acted as bait for the school, risking his life. Now he had come back to give the school 2 Beast Kings a chance to soar. But then you gave him a useless Void Extermination Pagoda that could only be used as a storage ring. And you even borrowed it. Yi Chongqing felt like he had been slapped in the face. For a moment he was so ashamed that he couldn't show his face. He said with a red face, What do you mean borrowed? It's just a small toy. I gave it to Xiaoduo to play with. Isn't that right, Xiaoduo? As he spoke, he looked at Xiaoduo with a pleading look in his eyes. Don't talk about borrowing. I gave it to you. It's for you. Xiaoduo understood and said, Principal Yi gave it to me. Qin Fengyang said, Oh, that's why I said Principal Yi is generous. Yi Chongqing laughed awkwardly. Qin Fengyang turned to teach Xiaoduo a lesson. The Void Extermination Pagoda is a good thing. Since Principal Yi gave it to you, you should hurry up and deal with it. Find an expert to make it recognize you as the owner of the pagoda. Otherwise, everyone can go in now. How can I be at ease? Xiaoduo nodded obediently. Yes, I'll think of a way. Qin Fengyang said, That's right. Hurry up and deal with it. You must set it up well. You're such a worrisome child. Duo lowered his head and listened to the lecture. When Xingtian rolled his eyes and looked at the sky. Well, Boss Ye's Void Extermination Pagoda was gone from today onwards. Ever since Qin Fangyang knew about the Void Extermination Pagoda and cultivated in it, he immediately sensed the difference in time. Therefore, he took advantage of this opportunity to be a thick-skinned fool, and help Duo ask for it. If Duo asked for it himself, firstly, he would be too embarrassed to do so. Secondly, he didn't know when he would get it. Since that was the case, he decided to be the bad guy. In fact, from Qin Fangyang's point of view, this was the most important thing for him to do this time. While the secret was still unknown to others, he would destroy it directly. Yi Chongqing was of course not a bad person, but Qin Fangyang was determined to help Duo get it. If Yi Chongqing had pretended to be confused and said that he wanted to lend it to Duo, Qin Fangyang would have taken the initiative to ask for it in another way. Duo had helped the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts School so much. It was just a pagoda, why would he want to lend it to him? So what if he gave it to him? That would make Yi Chongqing even more embarrassed. But Qin Fangyang didn't care. Now that he had obtained it so smoothly, Qin Fangyang could finally heave a sigh of relief. Well, it was me, Qin Fangyang, who was shameless. It had nothing to do with Duo. At this time, Duo was stunned for a moment. He seemed to have remembered something. He turned his head and said, Vice President Liu, the three most important herbs for your recovery are the sun-setting flower, the phantom vine and the soul-tempering vermilion fruit, right? Chapter 645. Vice Principal Liu sat in his wheelchair and said calmly, Yes, it's rare for you to keep it in mind. However, Madame Liu became nervous all of a sudden. Women were more sensitive. Why did Duo ask about this all of a sudden? She thought about what Qin Fangyang said just now. For example, the elixirs and resources that couldn't be found. This kid might be able to bring back a surprise for her. Could it be that suddenly, she looked nervously at Duo's face. Duo frowned and said, What do you still lack? Yi Chongqing suddenly became agitated and said, Duo, why are you suddenly asking about this? Madame Liu's face was filled with grief as she said, The necessary 17 main ingredients and 36 auxiliary ingredients have all been prepared long ago. However, the three most important ingredients are even more important than the main ingredients. Last year, Big Brother Yi found the Spectre's Vine. He found the sunsetting flower 10 years ago. Only the soul-tempering vermilion fruit is a dream item that can only be found by chance. Madame Liu sighed softly. She watched her husband grow old in a year. There was clearly hope to save him, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't find the herbs. This kind of despair, this kind of torment. It wasn't easy for her to not break down after so many years. Soul-tempering vermilion fruit? Duo flipped his wrist and two fruits suddenly appeared in his palm. The two black and shiny fruits were shrouded in a layer of solid fog. In the middle, there were specks of starlight, as if there were stars twinkling in the boundless night sky. Is this it? Duo asked nervously. This. Madame Liu continued to speak sadly. Our family has raised the reward again and again. It has been raised to 5 billion. Ah! She suddenly screamed and stared at Duo's hand. Ah! Duo also screamed. Obviously, he was shocked when he heard the astronomical reward of 5 billion. Madame Liu, you should have said so earlier. You only said so after I took it out. Duo was filled with resentment. Qin Fangyang and Wen Xingtian could be said to be the two people who knew him the best. At this moment, looking at this kid's lifeless appearance, the two of them couldn't help but want to laugh out loud. Yi Chongqing's eyes lit up, and he instantly snatched the soul-tempering vermilion fruit from Duo's hand. This is it. This is it. Sister-in-law quickly put it away. We'll go after the banquet to help old Liu recover. This matter should not be delayed. This matter should not be delayed. Duo stretched out his hand and was speechless. I've already taken it out. Is there a need to snatch it? Was it necessary? Was it necessary? Yet his heart was bleeding. With a wave of my hand, I lost a total of 5 billion. Now, 2,000 yuan is enough for an ordinary family to eat for a year. But I lost 5 billion in less than a second. A total of 5 billion. Let me die. I don't want to live anymore. The sadness in Zhuoxiaoduo's heart turned into a river. No, an ocean, a vast sea, a sea of stars. In an instant, he felt that life had lost its joy. Of course, finding the soul-tempering vermilion fruit would compensate him. This was a matter of course. No matter what, the group of people from Hidden Dragon High School would not do such a thing as robbing a junior. This was for sure. But now, looking at Zhuoxiaoduo's expression was really too interesting. Everyone wanted to watch for a while more. They all held back their laughter and ignored him. They only surrounded Vice Principal Liu and asked about his well-being. Old Liu, this is great. Yeah, that's exactly what we're lacking. I have to say, Old Liu's luck is really good. This is what it means for a blessed person to not have to worry. Madame Liu's eyes were filled with tears, and she kept thanking him. After so many years of waiting, her wish finally came true. At this moment, Madame Liu even felt a little dizzy. Even with her high cultivation at this very moment, her 2 feet felt as if she was stepping on clouds. She felt indescribably weak and powerless. Even when she looked out, everything she saw was a double image. Her body swayed unsteadily. Grandma sure felt that something was wrong. She hurriedly helped Madame Liu, who was already speaking incoherently, to sit down and quickly mixed a bottle of life water to drink. She sat aside and sighed softly. No one understood Madame Liu's hardships better than her. Now the hardships were finally over, and the future was bright and smooth. Zhuoxiaoduo watched from the side and felt that his heartache was actually dissipating little by little. Heartache for what? Why did I take it out? When I took it out, did I want to use it to exchange for a lot of money and a lot of resources? Of course not. If that's the case, then why do I feel heartache? The expression on Zhuoxiaoduo's face slowly relaxed, and there was a lot more smile in his eyes. This bunch of old things are all laughing at me, thinking that I can't tell. But I have to pretend that I've lost my soul. Let's see what you can do. Qin Fengyang, who had been watching him all this time, revealed a smile in his eyes. He was finally relieved. The current Xiao Duo, compared to when he was in Phoenix City, had indeed grown a lot. That time, in order to save a little bit of tuition fees, he could lie to the heavens. Later, he was exposed and couldn't get off the stage, so he had to apologize at the conference. But now, with 5 billion in front of him, he was actually relieved very quickly. This wasn't because he didn't care about money anymore because he had money. But he had truly experienced that some things were really more important than money. Much more important. In this world, there wasn't only profit. Only when he realized this, could he be considered to have truly grown up. What's more, perhaps Xiao Duo himself didn't realize it, but in reality, he was already walking on a path that was completely different from his original mindset. This path, no matter how crooked it was, would ultimately end in a righteous and upright path. Finally, when Xingtian turned around and looked at Zhuoxiaoduo mockingly, "Ayo Zhuoxiaoduo, look at your heartache. Tsk. When Xingtian exclaimed in surprise, the current Zhuoxiaoduo, why was he acting so calm? Although he tried his best to pretend that he was heartbroken, in the eyes of these experienced people there was no need to pretend. It was just a meaningless act. When Xingtian also felt a sense of relief when he came to a realization in an instant. He also figured out the process of Zhuoxiaoduo going from heartache to relief. Yi Chongqing and the others also smiled, feeling comforted in their hearts. Patting Zhuoxiaoduo's shoulder, Yi Chongqing smiled. Not bad. Not bad at all. Life is actually a process of searching. So what are we searching for? We are searching for someone who is worthy of our sacrifice. Birth determines that in this life, we have to work hard for the safety and happiness of our parents. In order to protect them, in order to not let them down, in order to make them proud of us, this is the benchmark of life. If we can find this benchmark, we can't be too bad. That's why the saying goes, filial piety is the most important of all virtues. Yi Chongqing said, when you grow up you start to make friends. But at this point in time your mind is still immature. There's no need to sacrifice. There's no talk of fighting. It's just pure happiness. Until you find your other half in life, you'll have one more burden and one more guardian. People who do the above two things well can be called human. Then, as your cultivation gradually improves, you gradually realize that there are actually many people in this world who are worthy of your sacrifice. For example, friends, brothers, teachers. When you are willing to do something for these people, if you walk down this path, you can be called a master. Yi Chongqing looked gratified. You are already doing very well. Zhuo Xiaoduo scratched his head. He muttered, so now I am. Master Zhuo? Shda. The originally joyous atmosphere in the room was instantly destroyed by this sentence. Everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why did this kid always have the ability to turn a serious atmosphere into a mess with just one sentence? Yi Chongqing still wanted to give a long lecture, but in the end, he choked on his words and rolled his eyes. Haha. When Xingtian then said, I'm sure you'll get your share of the rewards. There are many good things, and just one purifying jade lotus is enough to make up for the value of the soul-tempering vermilion fruit, or even more. It's just that that thing is more suitable for girls. Zhuo Xiaoduo's interest was immediately piqued. How good is it for girls? Can you tell me the specific effects? When Xingtian was speechless. Speaking of girls, your eyes are like light bulbs. What's going on? Everyone turned their heads, no longer looking at this face that suddenly became enthusiastic when he heard that a girl had a good meal. They continued to chat as if nothing had happened. Zhuo Xiaoduo scratched his head, his eyes shining, but his mind was blank. If that purified jade lotus is eaten by Nian Nian cat. He. Qin Fengyang sighed. This kid is stupid. Is he really in love? I have to remind him about this, but there are too many people here. That night, the guests and the host enjoyed themselves to their heart's content. Yi Chongqing made an invitation. In 1.5 months, the students of Hidden Dragon High School will go to the front lines. At that time, according to the school's tradition, a parent-teacher conference will be held every year. For Hidden Dragon High School, this is an annual event. If Teacher Qin is interested, you can come and watch the ceremony. Qin Fengyang hesitated for a moment, but still declined tactfully. He only said that it would depend on the situation and that he might not be able to come back. The parent-teacher conference was attended by the students' parents. As a teacher, it wasn't appropriate for him to attend. Hidden Dragon High School's annual parent-teacher conference was a tradition. At that time, all the students' parents would gather. Firstly, it was to encourage the students to go to war. Secondly, from a certain perspective, it was to let the parents accept some things step by step. For example, going to war or being injured or being sacrificed. Living in a time of war, this kind of thing had to be accepted and mentally prepared. Although they were still students and the risk factor wasn't great, but this kind of concept had to be instilled. Otherwise, there would definitely be accidents and sacrifices at that time. If it happened abruptly, the parents might not be able to accept such a strong impact. And from now on, Hidden Dragon High School was already seriously preparing for this matter. This was a major event. The annual parent-teacher conference had a name: World's Parents' Hearts. Most of the students' parents had already received the notice. Even those who had a longer journey had already started to move. Zhuo Xiaoduo's parents were naturally also invited. Moreover, they were the first to bear the brunt. When Xingtian and Yi Chongqing both felt that it was very magical. Such an ordinary couple could actually nurture two geniuses. It was really a miracle. She really wanted to see how this magical couple did it. Oh. Chapter 646. Qin Fengyang's arrival and today's meeting made Zhuo Xiaoduo's heart calm down a lot. He had always been most worried about Qin Fengyang, and through this meeting Zhuo Xiaoduo was relieved, so he deliberately kept Qin Fengyang for one more day. On the second night, when Qin Fengyang was about to leave, Zhuo Xiaoduo gave him a dragon soul ginseng despite Qin Fengyang's refusal. I don't know when I'll be able to see you again, Teacher Qin. I'm just afraid it won't be a good time. You can try to compress a few more times when you're at the peak of the divine reigning realm. When you break through to the returning profound realm, You can immediately take this Dragon Soul Ginseng. You can raise your cultivation to the peak of the returning profound realm in the shortest time possible. Otherwise, I won't be at ease. This time I really feel that there are too many experts in this world. It's too dangerous, Zhuo Duo said with sincerity. Qin Fengyang didn't want to accept it and refused it several times. He was so anxious that tears almost flowed down his face. When Qin Fengyang stood outside Fenghai City again, he felt like everything was like a dream. For an entire day, accompanied by Wen Xingtian, Qin Fengyang toured the entire Hidden Dragon High School. He deeply felt the depth of the Hidden Dragon High School's foundation. Just as he thought, the absolute strength of the upper echelons of the Hidden Dragon High School was not very high. At least, none of them could surpass Qin Fengyang's understanding of their strength. It could even be said that if it weren't for the accident at that time, many of the people teaching in the Hidden Dragon High School would be buried in the front lines of the Sun Moon Pass. But because of their serious injuries, their cultivation path was cut off. They knew that if they stayed in the army, they would become a burden to their comrades. So they chose to leave the army and turn to nurture future talents for the country. As long as there was a glimmer of hope to recover, these people would not return. This was the tradition of the entire astral souls. Those who were disabled and unable to fight, nurture others from the rear. Those who could fight, continue to shed blood on the battlefield. They're all good men. Qin Fengyang praised from the bottom of his heart. Half of his life was spent fighting for the country, and the other half was spent cultivating talents. At this point, Zhuo Duo and Li Chenglong were in the Hidden Dragon High School. Qin Fengyang could be considered to be completely at ease and no longer had any doubts. Before coming here, he really didn't expect to return with such a bountiful harvest. He had prepared a lot of cultivation materials for Zhuo Duo and Li Chenglong. Zhuo Duo and Li Chenglong accepted them happily. But as he interacted with them, Qin Fengyang soon found out that the resources the two students were using were far better than what he had given them. This reality was a little awkward. Even though the students were in high spirits in order to save his face, Qin Fengyang still felt uncomfortable in his heart. In the future he must get some good stuff. What he didn't know was that Zhuo Duo and Li Chenglong's excitement came from their hearts and wasn't fake at all. They really attached great importance to the things Qin Fengyang gave them. Each and every one of them was carefully stored away. Zhuo Duo and Li Chenglong might keep this kind of goodwill and be reluctant to use it. Every time they saw it, they would feel peace and gratitude in their hearts. The significance of a gift, for many people, didn't lie in its value, but in its goodwill. This teacher Qin still cares about me, still thinks of me, still misses me kind of goodwill was already precious enough. The value of the gift itself was secondary, or even insignificant. Qin Fengyang was the second person who didn't expect that he would have such an unexpected surprise this time, and it wasn't just one surprise. First of all, his cultivation base, through the one-time consumption of the spiritual meat, could be said to be a one-time astonishing leap. Now, not only did he directly advance to the middle stage of the God-reigning realm, the effect of the king-level demon beast meat was still not used up. He was steadily advancing to the high level of the God-reigning realm. Once he reached the upper stage, he would have to prepare to compress his own true yuan and break through to the returning profound realm. At that time he would consume the Dragon Soul Ginseng that Zhuo Duo gave him. At the very least, it would increase his pure cultivation by 1,000 years. 1,000 years of pure cultivation was practically enough to raise his cultivation base to the peak of the returning profound realm in a single step. The remaining energy would even be enough for him to complete the compression of his true yuan before he could ascend to the heavens twice. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he could ascend to the heavens in a single step. With this foundation, I'll strive to complete the compression breakthrough in half a year, and reach the returning profound realm as soon as possible. Qin Fengyang stroked the top-grade astral soul's jade in his bosom. Although he was still reluctant to use it at this juncture, he had to use it first to raise his cultivation base. Just by looking at the Starlight Mountain range this time, I can deduce that the next time this kid causes trouble, even those at the returning profound realm might not be able to handle it. I have to reach the peak of the returning profound realm as soon as possible, or even the Skysoar realm. Qin Fengyang's heart was boiling. As for the second surprise, It was naturally the story that Yi Chongqing told him. This anecdote, had reignited Qin Fengyang's dead heart. If you can retain your memories and still remember me, then you'll be my champion. Back then, the coin that Xiao Duo made had the power of fortune from the universe cycle. Perhaps it should be similar to the one that Marshal Dongfang made before? Qin Fengyang now had an impulse to rush to the Sun Moon Pass and ask about the details of this story. He wanted to understand every detail of this story. However, Qin Fengyang stroked his spatial ring. It was better to finish this batch of deliveries first before thinking about anything else. First stop, Shangjing. Although Xiao Duo did not have any special requests, it was better to send something to his sister faster than others. Then he would also visit Long Yuxing and Wan Lixioda. Then he would go directly to Guangdong Yumoyan. From Guangdong he would go to the Dragon Soul High Martial School Li Zhongming. Then he would go to the Kunlun Dao sect and pass by Phoenix City. Then he would set off from Phoenix City, go all the way to the Zizai Dao sect, and then go directly to the Sun Moon Pass. Yes, that's it. Qin Fengyang suddenly had a thought that he did not know whether to laugh or cry. Zhou Xiaoduo's plan was very complete. This round of deliveries was destined to take a long time. It would basically allow him to completely exhaust the effect of his portion of Beast King meat and convert it all into his foundation. There would also be enough time for him to adapt to his current cultivation strength and consolidate his realm. He would also use this period of buffer to prevent himself from getting hurt in a fight. Because along the way, he didn't dare to waste time, so he naturally wouldn't cause any trouble. Furthermore, Xiao Duo had asked him to deliver the packages before Yi Chongqing told him the anecdote of the white-haired celestial immortal. That child's deeper hope was that after going through this round and meeting many old friends, he would be in a good mood, no longer dead, and dispel some of his feelings of death, right? This kid really put a lot of thought into this. Qin Fengyang felt a little strange. As a teacher, he was arranged by his own student just like that. The arrangement was proper, and he had to carry it out meticulously, without the slightest bit of carelessness. Next, Xiao Duo was busy for a whole day. Only then did he completely dismember the Centipede King and Snake King. All the bones, flesh, and skin were separated. Other than the small portion that Qin Fengyang had already taken away, Xiao Duo decided to leave an additional 2,500 kilograms for himself. As for the rest, there was a total of 67,000 caddies left for Wen Xingtian to take away. After obtaining so much king-grade astral beast spirit meat, Wen Xingtian felt like he was floating in the air. This was a full 67,500 kilograms. It was enough for the students of the Hidden Dragon High Martial School to make a qualitative leap. However, for those who were about to break through and were suppressing their cultivation, they had to treat it with extra caution, or eat it with the help of their teachers. Otherwise, if they ate a mouthful of meat while they were still suppressing their cultivation, they would directly break through. That would reduce their chances of accumulating their foundation, and the gains would not make up for the losses. Therefore, this meat was not only a problem of how to distribute it, but also a problem of how to consume it. Of course, after all these years at the Hidden Dragon High Martial School, he was already familiar with these matters. However, it was still the first time that so much was given at once. Xiang Quangren suggested that the students who were training and were about to go to the front line should also participate in this promotion. Yi Chongqing agreed readily. The higher-ups of the Hidden Dragon High Martial School held a meeting to discuss this matter. Not only the students but also the teachers who wanted the meat could also get a portion as long as they paid the corresponding price. After all, there was too much meat this time. Other than the meat, Xiao Duo also gave out the bones, skulls, and snake skin. These were all good goods that were priceless. However, Xiao Duo could not use them himself, but if he handed them over to the Hidden Dragon High Martial School, they would complement each other. I don't care how you deal with it. I just need to wait for the money or resources. Xiao Duo was very calm about this. This was because he had the capital to be calm enough. The value of the thousands of centipede pearls dug out from the centipede queen's body was even higher than that of the Lingdua's meat. Especially the 40 fist-sized pearls, they were the treasures of the treasures. Priceless was not enough to describe them. Yes, there were also 9 bull-sized pearls. They were definitely private items, the kind that he would not tell anyone about. Yes, one of them was given to Qin Fangyang so he could give it to Zhuo Xiaonian. Zhuo Xiaoduo planned to play with these small pearls for a few days before handing them over to Wen Xingtian and the others to deal with. As for the big pearls, he kept them for himself and waited for the right time to deal with them. As for the 8 biggest pearls, they were all kept for himself. Compared to the centipede pearls, the number of snake pearls taken out was smaller. Only 89 snake pearls were found from the Cobra King. 88 of them were the size of 2 fists and the biggest one was about the size of Zhuo Xiaoduo's head. With 90 snake pearls, the Cobra King will be able to transform into a flood dragon and grow a horn. With 95 snake pearls, the Cobra King will be able to grow another horn and 2 claws. With 99 snake pearls, the Cobra King will be able to transform into a flood dragon. From then on, the number of snake pearls will not increase, only the quality. As for this Snake King, it was only one step away from transforming into a dragon. If it could successfully eat the heavenly treasure and increase its cultivation by 1,000 years, it would not only transform into a dragon, it would not be too far away from becoming a dragon, right? The snake pearls and the centipede pearls seem to have the same function. They were both used to expel poison. However, if one were to look at the details, there would be a huge difference. In addition, Zhuo Xiaoduo had kept 2 valuable Beast King pellets for himself. Zhuo Xiaoduo looked at the pearls rolling back and forth on the ground. They were sparkling, crystal clear and flawless. There was an indescribable fondness in his heart. Suddenly he had an idea. Why don't I play marbles? With these. This was the true meaning of high-end, grand and classy. After playing with the pearls for a long time, he put them away. At this point, the 2 Beast Kings had been dealt with. Next, it was time to deal with the spatial rings. Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong worked overtime to sort out the spatial rings. However, it still took them a whole week to sort them out. As soon as they were done, Swollen was so tired that he became autistic. I've never seen anyone order people around like this. You're using a person to death. But if a sheep was plucked, wouldn't it be bald? Even if you have medicine and let me drink it for free to recover, but I'm mentally and emotionally exhausted. Swollen wanted to cry more than once or twice. I thought I was dealing with 1,000 spatial rings. In the end, after dealing with all the spatial rings, he realized that he had dealt with 2,864 of them. Zhuo Xiaoduo, you're inhumane. Your actions are infuriating. You're heartless. Li Chenglong roared in grief and indignation. Zhuo Xiaoduo coughed, which was rare. He didn't retort. Instead, he looked more or less guilty. Actually, you can't blame me. It's all because of the 3 demons of Huangquan, Tian Wujiang and the other god imperial expert's spatial rings. These words were true. Just the spatial rings of the 3 demons of Huangquan alone had taken out more than 300 spatial rings. In Tian Wujiang's ring, there were more than 400 spatial rings. Of course, some of the spatial rings were empty. There was basically nothing valuable in them. However, the workload still increased by hundreds of times out of nowhere. How could Li Chenglong not go crazy? Finally, it was done. Li Chenglong weighed his lower body. Instantly, his face looked weary. Damn, I've lost 6 pounds. A whole 6 pounds. Yi Chongqing specially sent a logistics teacher to oversee everything. All the things that Zhuo Xiaoduo said he didn't want, this teacher just needed to make a phone call and there would be merchants coming to buy them. When Hidden Dragon High School did this kind of thing, it had already formed a related industrial chain. All these years, all the useless things that they seized were all dealt with in this way. It had already formed a huge customer base. However, after so many years, it was rare to see a shipment as large as Zhuo Xiaoduo's. It was so large that it was almost boundless. Even Hidden Dragon High School rarely had records of killing God Imperial Expert. They even had to kill as many as 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that the owners and managers of the big and small supermarkets were all lining up outside. There were also many owners of specialty stores who came to join in the fun. Heads were moving, forming a huge crowd. It was as if a meeting was being held. And the people who came here all had faces full of excitement. How could they not be happy? How could they not be excited? They could get cheap goods again. Every time they bought goods from Hidden Dragon High School, they could make a fortune. They really hoped that there would be days like this every day. There were even people who collected scraps. It could be seen that this customer base covered all aspects. Among them, there was a rare special case of a businessman who directly entered the villa. Those with eyes could tell at a glance that this person was Feng Hai's new boss, President Feng. Mr. Feng. Feng Yinhua didn't stand on ceremony at all. He packed up all the women's underwear and took away all the protective clothing that high-grade subhuman experts needed. He also took away 10,000 boxes of high-grade wine and 4,000 kilograms of high-grade tea leaves. However, these were still just a small number. It wasn't enough to reach the apex. After Feng Yinhua left, this logistics teacher dealt with 1.7 billion yuan in cash for Zhou Xiaoduo in just one afternoon. It didn't involve cultivation materials or heavenly treasures. Just the items in the mortal world were worth this much after the transaction and purchase. Yes, this was the amount after the discount. It could be seen how rich Zhou Xiaoduo's harvest was this time. It was really shocking and breathtaking. Then there were the medicinal herbs, elixirs, and astral soul stones used by cultivators. Zhou Xiaoduo looked at his phone. Ding dong, ding dong. Large amounts of money were transferred into his account. He was in such a good mood that he couldn't close his mouth. They say that too much money is just a number. But why do I feel so happy when I see these numbers jumping continuously? It took 3 whole days to process the goods. For 3 days and 3 nights, the sound of Zhou Xiaoduo's phone beeping had never stopped. This logistics teacher's estimation was so accurate that all the merchants could profit from it. However, he wouldn't deal with it cheaply. After 3 days and 3 nights, even this cloud transformation realm teacher collapsed from exhaustion due to the exhaustion of thinking. How could there be so much? All the mid-grade astral souls jade and low-grade astral souls jade were taken away by Hidden Dragon High Marshal. That was a total of tens of millions of pieces. The warehouse was filled to the brim. Yes, these tens of millions of pieces of astral souls jade. 99% of them were mid-grade. Low-grade astral souls jade was the absolute minority. This time, the bounty hunters in the Starlight Mountain range were at the soul transformation realm. How could they have so many low-grade astral souls jade on them? At most, they would have a few pieces of low-grade astral souls jade. However, there weren't many high-grade astral souls jade. There were still many heavenly treasures that Zhou Xiaoduo didn't deal with for the time being. He planned to keep them for missions. Those that were still alive were directly planted near the earth veins of his own void extermination tower. After the transaction was completed, the total amount of cash in Zhou Xiaoduo's account soared and broke through the 5 billion yuan mark. It was as if he had earned it all the way to his grandmother's house. And this was only the part that wasn't worth much. Those that were really valuable would be dealt with later. For example, the King Beast spirit meat and the astral souls jade that Hidden Dragon High Marshal took away. These hadn't been paid for yet. Yes, there were also the 2,700 rings that Hidden Dragon High Marshal took away. They hadn't been paid for either. More than 100 rings with a relatively large space were intercepted by Zhou Xiaoduo. The other precious item that Hidden Dragon High Marshal took away. The martial arts secret manuals that were found in these rings were also not valued. On one hand, it wasn't easy to value them. On the other hand, Zhou Xiaoduo hadn't thought of what else he could ask for. If he really wanted to value the secret manuals, Hidden Dragon High Marshal might not be able to afford them. Then he could only wait. Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't help but sigh. War was the best way to make money. 2 sleeves of gold was nothing. This time he had gone out to train for less than a month, and the total value of his gains was more than a few 100 billion yuan. He put his hands on his waist and was satisfied. He especially wanted to stand on top of the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts building and ask, "Do you know how awesome I am?" He couldn't wait to grab someone and ask, "Do you know how rich I am now? What's 2 sleeves of gold? I have 2 sleeves of gold. With the money I have now, I can pay the fines for Nian Nian Cat until I'm old and die." If someone heard this, they would be full of disdain. With so much money in your hands, you actually didn't think of anything else other than paying the fines. So what if you have 2 sleeves of gold? No one else could have this kind of awareness. Li Chenglong was at the side, holding the 50 kilograms of meat that Zhou Xiaoduo gave him. He was smiling like a 165-kilogram fool. That was great. Really great. With this meat, I can complete the compression until I break through the inner core realm. Then I can accumulate it until I reach the peak and compress it a few more times. How much time would I save in cultivation? In the first year of the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts, if not me, who else could it be? Except for Zhua, if not me, who else could it be? But this meat. Li Chenglong secretly glanced at Zhua Xiaoduo, only to see that bastard looking at him with a smile that wasn't a smile, waiting for him to make a fool of himself. Humph, what are you looking at? Anyway, I'm going to eat it raw. I'll eat it raw. Li Chenglong hardened his heart, gritted his teeth and made up his mind. Without hesitation, he bravely moved forward. Although he knew that Zhua Xiaoduo was waiting for him to make a fool of himself eating it raw, Li Chenglong still couldn't bear to waste it. This opportunity was hard to come by. If he ate it this time, he didn't know when the next time would be. And he didn't know if there would be another chance. Of course, he had to maximize the benefits. Eating it raw was fine. Increasing his strength was the most important thing. If not me, who else could it be? I'm coming, wait for me. The next day, Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts released internal news. Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts First Year Class 1 students Zhua Xiaoduo, during the Starlight Mountain Range trial, discovered 2 king-level demonic beasts fighting each other, and both died. Zhua Xiaoduo brought back the king-level demonic beast meat and entrusted it to the school for the benefit of all the teachers and students. There's no need to say more about the effects of the king-level demonic beast meat. Everyone knows. This is an opportunity for all the teachers and students of Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts to leap forward. Although students Zhua Xiaoduo is indifferent to fame and fortune, after the school's research, we can't let people do things for free. As martial artists, we should be clear about cause and effect. Therefore, we've made the following decisions. First, the king-level demonic beast meat will be sold at 1/10 of the market price, including but not limited to cash, astral souls, jade, high-grade cultivation resources, etc. All can be used as trading items. Second, all the teachers and students of the school, before trading, must first consider their own condition and act according to their ability. Be careful not to be unable to control the sudden increase in spiritual source after eating the king-level demonic beast meat, and break through the realm of the meridians. All the class teachers must take good care of the students, and try their best to prevent things like breaking through the foundation of the students. Third, all the profits from this transaction will be transferred back to students Zhua Xiaoduo. Fourth, I hope that all the teachers and students of the school can understand students Zhua Xiaoduo's painstaking efforts. Fifth, because students Zhua Xiaoduo is deeply righteous and indifferent to fame and fortune, the school's rewards and decorations have all been rejected. After the school's research, the school committee has decided to give students Zhua Xiaoduo a Hidden Dragon High Martial Spirit Medal. From today onwards, he will forever be a role model for the students of Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts. Sixth, this is limited to the teachers and students of the school. Each person is limited to one portion. This portion of the king-level demonic beast meat cannot be resold or transferred to others in any way. Violators will be held accountable and expelled from the school. Moreover, the violators' relatives and friends will never be recruited by Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts. Seventh, there were a lot of conditions. In a flash, the students exploded. It wasn't because of the medal given to Zhua Xiaoduo, but because of the king-level demonic beast meat. Everyone was a martial artist. Naturally, they were clear in their hearts what the king-level demonic beast meat meant. It truly signified a leap in strength. In this world where martial arts were supreme, where the strong were respected, and where there were internal and external troubles and constant wars, a leap in strength was almost equivalent to a life. In a flash, Zhua Xiaoduo became an absolutely influential figure in the Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts. A treasure that could allow thousands of martial artists to take a big step forward at the same time. Taking it out like this and only charging 1/10 of its value, this was simply saying, I'm embarrassed to give it to you for free. If I give it to you for free, you owe me too much karma, so I'll just charge 1/10 of it as a gesture. No one owes anyone anything. But how could everyone not know the whole story? This was a huge favor, okay? The other party had a lot of resources, and this kind of meat was indeed not suitable to be stored for a long time. But who didn't want to sell it to? As long as it was a cultivator who wouldn't rush to buy it. Taking 10,000 steps back, so what if the other party put it in their ring and let it rot? Selling it for a tenth of its value. It would be better for it to rot. Why would you care if they dug a hole and buried it? Why would they take it out? Wasn't it for their own good? If they couldn't even understand this point, why would they practice martial arts? Why would they cultivate the Tao? Countless students called their families one after another to apply for resources. Students from poor families who are unable to pay. Students Wuxia Duo promises that everyone will trade 5 kilograms of spirit meat at half the market price and sign an EU stating that they will return it within 10 years. Many of the poor students who had been feeling dejected a moment ago had their eyes lit up when they heard this. Originally, they were still feeling sorry for themselves, envious, jealous, and hateful. But when this condition came out, everyone's gratitude towards Wuxia Duo skyrocketed, soaring all the way to the point of bursting. They were too moved. Although the price was expensive and it was not a tenth of the initial price but half, the repayment conditions were too lax. Return it within 10 years. If you couldn't repay this debt 10 years after graduating from Hidden Dragon High School, then how much of a waste would you be? If you were really that much of a waste, then so be it if you couldn't repay the debt. If you don't have a spatial ring, or if your spatial ring is less than 1 cubic meter, you can also come to the Academic Affairs Office to buy it. Each person is limited to 1 ring, and the price is 1/5 of the market price. Yes, this discount is also provided by students Wuxia Duo. The entire Hidden Dragon High School once again boiled over. From teachers to students, almost everyone was praising Wuxia Duo. Wuxia Duo, from today onwards, had truly become a star student of Hidden Dragon High School, and had established his position as a student leader. Yi Chongqing, Wen Xingtian, and the others watched the scene of the school in full swing, and their hearts were filled with gratification. In the future, everyone at Hidden Dragon High School will be convinced that a person worthy of being a leader is starting to show signs. As long as we nurture him well, Wuxia Duo will become the future leader of Hidden Dragon High School's graduates, the leader, and the soul of the leaders. Yi Chongqing smiled with gratification. Although this time it seems like we're just building momentum for Wuxia Duo. As long as he can lead this group of students well, in the future, our Hidden Dragon High School will benefit even more. In the end, the name of Hidden Dragon High School will be spread. Xiang Quangren, Vice Principal Cheng, and Vice Principal Liu, who had just recovered, all nodded their heads with glowing faces. Those who had run institutions of higher learning all knew how difficult it was to find a person that everyone was convinced of among so many students. It was almost impossible. But now, such a person had appeared in Hidden Dragon High School. And it wasn't just a sign, it was already close to taking shape. For the future, this was an immeasurably huge event. If so many students under the leadership of the same person worked together, thought together, and twisted into a rope, what kind of power would that be? All the principals were filled with wild and fanciful thoughts, and were filled with fascination. At this point, there must be a spoiler. The beautiful future that Vice Principal Yi and the others fantasized about did indeed appear in the future. But at that time they wanted to catch Wuxia Duo and beat the shit out of this bastard. Beat him until he peed, and beat him until his snot and tears flowed, and he prostrated himself on the ground. Many years later, there would be a sentence that would spread across the continent. Every time the principals heard it, they would sigh deeply and be speechless. Beauties in the clouds, men in the ancestral dragon, and hooligans in Hidden Dragon High School are everywhere. Well, this is a story for another time. Cough. There are too many trivial matters in this chapter, so I might as well not split it into chapters. Please vote. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.